Welcome back to another episode of Bulletproof Mindset, Scotland's #1 health, fitness and entertainment podcast. Today's episode is a very special guest. Welcome on Chris Bradley, and what a fantastic conversation we have. Now this is up there with the longest episode we have recorded, and rightly so, because there's such an incredible story to be told. There's even a wee bit of gossip in there, and if you wanted to know what it's like trying to transition from being on the gym floor to being an online coach, to owning your own gym, to now helping other coaches master their business, to now owning a fitness agency, well, you're going to hear it all in today's episode. Now, love him or hate him, there is a lot to be said about Chris's hard work ethic and just straight up graft that he puts into wanting a better life for him and his family. So I know that you're going to love today's conversation and today's chat that we had. And as always, with any guest that we have on, if you're looking to find them on social media, I'm going to put how you can connect to them in the show notes below this video, wherever you're finding this. And also, if you're looking to work with Chris, you can check the show notes there as well. Now, before we get into the episode, just really quickly, if you are new around here, first of all, welcome. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I release episodes every Monday and Thursday at 6 a.m. Now, if there's one thing I can ask, that is if you could consider leaving a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or consider subscribing on YouTube and leave a little comment on what you thought about today's episode. This is the best way you can support me in this little podcast that I've got going on. And I think without further ado, enjoy today's conversation, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Like my brother, he just sits and plods away, could just be doing, and I'm like, I'd rather give my money to my family.
I know, that's where I'm at, especially. So yeah, this interesting enough, this is where I want to start with you. So you're the first person in your family to get a mortgage.
Yes, mate.
Was fucking, yes. It's mad.
Aye.
What was that? So take us back. That's why I kind of go back. Like, did you grow up in a single parent household?
Single parent household. I had like effectively a stepdad when I was growing up. So me and my brother, I was born a year and a bit after him.
Right.
And then my mum brought us up. There was one or two guys in and out of there. One guy was much longer. But he was never my dad. I never called him dad or whatever. Bit of a drunk, okay, and all that. And then when we hit 10 and 11, 12, my wee brother was born, Matthew. So, and then before you know it, my ma's got 3 boys she's bringing up. Back to back with me, my brother Lee, my bigger brother, and then a bit of time, and then Matthew was born. So, mate, just in terms of the mortgage, it was just like council houses all life. You know what I mean? It wasn't a mortgage, the way we used to look at it, mate, it wasn't called mortgage back then. It was called a boat house. We used to have a boat house, so it was like, you'd go to your mate's house and say, they've got a boat house. I don't know how you'd find this information out when you're 8 to 12 or whatever. Like, how does it, who leaks it? You know what I mean? But you just knew it wasn't in the same area, maybe, or there was some, I don't know, there was some status thing that came with it. And mate, I used to think about it. They used to have like laminate flooring and stuff before it was like,
So would you say like where you came from, would you class that as like the scheme and stuff like that? Like whereabouts did you grow up?
Ardenne. So it was Ardenne, right, south side of Glasgow, kind of south side, next to Pollock and Darnley and all that kind of thing. So I was initially born in Easterhouse, and then we moved. So, for what I can remember, it was always Ardenne. That's where I was growing up. That's the primary school I went to. And I made very much the scheme, like it was there's some schemes nowadays, but these were the 90s schemes. You know what I mean?
It's different.
The real deal. Aye.
Didn't have posh boy haircuts like then.
No, mate, none of that. And it was just wild. But you know what I find about being back then as well, it was the norm. Whereas I think now when you grow up and you start to realise that you can very easily identify it, stay away from it and stuff. But then it was just that was what it is. You never knew any different. And I think when you start going to schools, high school and stuff, you see all the different groups, didn't you?
You start caring about what you wear and who's got. So how you're 34?
I'm 34.
Like Timbies and stuff like that with the hooks. Remember all that?
Pots with Helly Hansen jackets, Merapeak, Bergos, and that.
It was a big deal. Big deal.
So it was one of those ones, and that's when you start to almost find your feet of like, okay, where do people lie here? Who's got a ma? Who's got a da? Who's got a man dad that works? Who's swiping their card at lunchtime because they get free lunch? You know what I mean? And it's a status thing, and I spoke of this before, but like it affects you as a young guy and girl, because you're kind of like, where do I stand here? And then not to mention all the hormones that are rife through you, and then it's like that whole, what trainers are you wearing? And I always remember, mate, the biggest thing that I always remember for school was like going back the next year and the anxiety you had, mate.
So you were affected with that then? Did you feel
mate,
that
it was one of those ones where it's getting 2 weeks to go before you go back to 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, and you're kind of like, right, mum, when are you going to get the clays in? Like, I need a new bag, I need new trainers. And she's got it in the bag, literally. She's like, she knows when she's going to get it. She's probably going to get a loan for like Argos or whatever, Littlewoods at the time. but you're sweating because you're like, my pals are going to, it's meant so much. And you never knew it was anxiety, but it was. It was social pressure, mate. Social anxiety.
You can imagine like the hype or the over-emphasis placed on it with social media.
Aye.
You can imagine like kids Snapchatting or whatever that they're doing these days, like posting X, Y, and Z.
But I felt the same back then.
Aye. No, I think it's just a different beast now. It's the same kind of
same as when people go, kids are just staring at iPads now. It's like, I scared at my Game Boy for 8 hours a day, mate. Remember the time they brought out obviously batteries were expensive, right? So I was like, well, you're not getting any more batteries. Then the battery pack came out.
Aye.
I was gone for hours, mate. I was like this on the Game Boy screen. Granted, it's a smaller screen, but I did the same back then. The same with the pressures and all that as well.
Aye, good. What's your relationship like with your mum? Like growing up, I would imagine it's changed heavily with how successful you are now.
Mate, it's just always been the same.
Has it been
always been the same, mate? It's been, I was joint at hip, mate. I just wouldn't leave her. She'd go to the toilet and I'd be sitting there waiting on her coming out, or I would sit in her lap.
Would you class yourself as a proper mummy's boy?
Oh, aye, mate. Aye, 100%. And I think it's just, I'm very similar to her. I'm short, same colour of hair, like that kind of way. My brother, he's got black hair. We've got the same dad, but like I think he definitely took it after my uncle and maybe her dad as well. We never met her dad or whatever. But my relationship with my mum has always just been, it's all I've known. Yeah. Just watched her, sat next to her. And I think that's what shaped me, mate. Do you know what I mean?
That's where I was kind of going with this line of questioning. Like, do you think that's why you have, because I've heard you speak in the past about like work ethic just came natural to you through jobs that you had like in Sainsbury's and stuff like that. You just were always the first to like work really hard. I think a lot of that comes from wanting more from life, or
I think
from
so,
your
mate.
mum.
I think so. I think like just thinking about providing a life for my ma, because it's funny, mate. It's like I get emotional about it sometimes, where you're like the next milestone that I hit in life and business, me and Cheryl, or maybe I bought a place in Spain, and I'm just kind of like, I'm met with this guilt, mate. Every time I achieve something, there's this sense of guilt that no one else bears and no one's thinking about it. It's just me. Like, for example, I buy the villa in Spain and I'm like, amazing, this is brilliant, celebrate it. And then you take a moment and go, my mum's in Darnley back home, just sitting there kind of plugging away, doing nothing. And I'm like, right, what do you need? But it's not what she needs. She just needs me to text in the morning.
Text the simple things, yeah.
She doesn't care, mate. I could be on the news for being the next Elon Musk. Like me and Elon Musk could connect. I could be CEO. And she'd just be like, what are you up to today, son? She doesn't know, mate. But it's refreshing because I'm surrounded by people who are constantly thriving and wanting more. And I think what it's been able to do, mate, is the guilt's got better. I've been better at dealing with it, because the way I see it is like every time I achieve something, it unlocks another door for me to then give back to her. But I don't think I'll ever repay that, mate. If you think of like a single mum bringing up 2 boys, she had my brother when she was 16. And then, so she's 20, she's sitting there with 2 young boys, like bringing them up. And you think of that, mate, where she's had to give up her life, stopped working as soon as she hit 16. Yeah. And obviously back then there wasn't as much emphasis on getting back to work and stuff like that. But mate, it's like I'm sitting here today. I didn't
even support. If you think about it, you break down the support, like you said, like from simple things like amenities to stuff for school, food, all that sort of stuff. And I can imagine the pressure. Mate,
we were never short. So like I was always quite good at football. So like I always felt that gave me a bit of status that was enough to carry me. Like where we lacked maybe having. You had kids in primary that are just kicking about with a fiver, and you're like, what's going on here? How you get a fiver?
Aye.
And it's like I'm sitting there with a £1 coin just holding it, and it wasn't...
Or 5 packs of chewing gum or something like that.
Just,
how do you get all this stuff?
Aye, mate. And like it wasn't by any means a sob story, and because she bent over backwards. But I did feel a sense of like, I wonder how they've got that. Is it because they've got a dad? Is it because they've got income, whatever? But the support, mate, was like... like I say, she would never see us go short. She would get us selling debt, so that merit peaks were the big thing. Go back to school, me and my brother would have one. And then football, mate. Football money was a big one. Like, see, playing for football teams, they want money. And, as much as it's only a couple of quid, it's a 5 or a 10, it's still a lot of money, mate, when you're trying to bring up 2 boys who are just eating the place. Yeah. And even right through, mate, to a Friday night where, she's got her last 20 quid, she'd spend it on a Chinese for us because she knows what would make us happy. You know what I mean? Is that practical? No. And I've picked up on that because I'm terrible with money. But at the same time, it's that's the feeling I got. I remember it, just sitting down, and she's probably looking over, just watching us tucking into our chicken curry with prawn crackers and that, and going, that's all they wanted.
Yeah. It's crazy to think into it. It's also good to reflect though. So I would imagine it's going to be extremely hard is if you got a goal to like, people always want to say like, it'd be great to retire their parents and stuff like that. And I had a conversation with a guest on a couple of months back and he was in a position that he could do that. His mum's like, no, like I enjoy working, that I like what I'm doing, like that's purpose. And it's crazy how we can grow up in different generations and just have different like what fulfillment and all that sort of thing. So she was like, as much as she didn't have the material things, like the fulfillment for her was the Chinese with her 2 kids. And
still is, mate. You know, she'll come over to the villa in Spain and she'll try and give me a care to buy a round of drinks. And it's like, she doesn't even fathom the money that I'm making or whatever.
She's the parent.
Mate.
So let's talk about like your dad then. Did you ever try and pursue like having
never, mate,
dad in your life?
like,
Did just not cross your mind?
No, never, mate. Obviously we got brought up with a guy there who was my younger brother's dad. And he was an alky and stuff, died at 36 or something like that. Right. Alcohol poisoning and stuff like that. So he used to come back.
Is this while your mum's still with him?
Aye.
Oh, really?
On and off, mate, you know, and then we got to a point where, you know, he'd be at the pub drinking or whatever, I'd come home and we'd be locked in the room, we could just hear my ma shouting and screaming or whatever, and, you know, one of those 90s dad, mate, that just batters women and stuff like that, you know, so there was no chance of even thinking about it. Like, if anything, it's like me and my brothers, like, right, where can we get a holiday or whatever for a period of time, mate, but nah, mate, it's like, it's one of those ones. I've always been curious about, you know, sometimes you wonder where you get your traits from, and like you wonder, like, watching my hairline, like, where's this hairline at, so that I can try and gauge when I need to go to Turkey, you know what I mean? But no, honestly, I think everybody's always said that I'm the exact same as my mum, same personality, same characteristics, same kind of almost like genetics, to be honest. So it's never really struck me, mate.
Yeah, I think your mum has been your also your dad, like growing up in that.
Mate.
But in the age of today's world, the Andrew Tates in the world, the kind of male masculine role models, that what's your take on all of that sort of stuff?
Mate, I think for me, like, I've always bonded well with women. Like my auntie, my uncle was always there as well, just to kind of, so my auntie's my mum's sister, so my uncle's my auntie's obviously husband and stuff, married into the family. And so in terms of like role models and stuff, like I definitely remember being in my early teens and kind of whenever a guy came into our life or whatever, or speaking to him and stuff, like I could tell I knew I missed that dad figure. I could just feel it. I could feel a sense of looking up to people quicker than I should have. So I did get it. I get why it's boomed so much. I get why people look at Andrew Tate, and I think it's because certainly when I grew up, mate, in our generation, like I call it like a 90s dad. Like they were, maybe it was because of their dads. You know, going back to the 70s, 80s, these guys they weren't aware how to treat women, so they got away with murder. The work was harder back then. You know, money was harder. There was no awareness around that sort of stuff, and people were just bad to people, mate. You know, and the guys were bad to women. So I think that now we're in this position where it's filtered down. I hopefully feel now that we're in a position in 2024 where that's almost been eradicated. We can now, I mean, we've all got issues and we'll carry them over until we die, but hopefully those issues are away now, and that the reason that some young guys are looking at Andrew Tate and these kind of guys who are being an alpha male is probably because there's a need for it. They're looking about. Hopefully it doesn't turn into this kind of narcissistical, ego-driven culture that has given them a platform to go and do that. We don't know. There'll be another year or two before we find out
how it kind of pans out.
Exactly, mate.
So you were into football then. Did you kind of see sports as like looking at role models in sports then, I would imagine?
Yeah, mate.
Like who was it that you were, what sort of team were you looking at and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so for me it was like, as soon as I started playing football, mate, in primary school, that was me. That was my, I always had a very bad temper. I don't know why. It might just be stemming from other stuff. Like maybe it's the red hair, ginger hair in me, but like
fire in you.
Aye, mate, I've always had a kind of bad temper, but when I was playing football, like that was my place. That was the thing that I loved, being part of a team and just winning and stuff like that, to the point sometimes to my detriment, mate, being competitive and things. And then in terms of like looking at role models, like football was one of those things where you're kind of born into it in Glasgow and Scotland. It's like, what team do you support? Say like our Rangers, and we always had a kind of mixed thing with it, because the guy that kind of brought us up, I was there kind of, wasn't our dad or anything, but he was a Celtic fan, and my brother, he was a Rangers fan, my big brother, because his uncle So there was always this kind of, what team do you support? I always felt quite uneasy about it because I was like, I like football and I don't think any of them are any good. I don't know. I'm a Celtic fan now, but like mostly just by default, mate, because I prefer Celtic and prefer what they're about. I prefer watching them. Been to a few games and all that good stuff. I'll check Celtic always. Like I'm a Celtic fan, but I hated primary school, mate, because I hated people. Back in primary school, it was Celtic and Rangers were.
It was a camp.
Aye, mate. And it was 1 week Celtic fans would be slagging Rangers fans, the next Rangers, and I couldn't take it, mate. I couldn't take a slagging. I just couldn't take it. So I just went, that's it. And then I followed, like, you know, at the time Brazilian, R9 was the man. He was the best, mate. So I wore R9 boots, Nike boots, the full time through primary, and then it was Terry Henry. Aye. That was it, mate. Number 14. Everybody was fighting our 14 when in school because everybody wants first to 11. And as we on 14, soaks up like small 5'5" white guy trying to Terry Henry. You can imagine. Yeah. Zero vavavoom. Yeah. Soaks away up to my knees. And I mean that was my big thing was football because I wasn't great in school, mate. You know, I couldn't take to school. I couldn't take the listening and learning the way that they taught you. So football, it was just, and then it goes.
Which is interesting, like how your profession sort of evolved into.
I know.
Which is fascinating.
It's crazy,
how
mate.
it can do a full circle on you. What's your dreams as a kid? Can you remember anything? I like asking people this to kind of see where their head's at when they're like super young.
When I was like 2, my granddad was still alive, and my mum said I used to go out, and he was a mechanic. Right. I used to go out and play with tools and get all dirty and all that. And then I actually did my apprentice in Arnold Clark.
All right.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I lasted and left.
And then you're like, nope.
I was like, no chance, mate. The guy sent me for like one of the a tartan paint list and all that, and I just walked to the other side of the thing, and I was like,
Bastards, I can't. This isn't my life.
I just left, mate. I just left straight after that. So, in terms of like, I was like the mechanic thing was there, and then just like most people, you finish 5th, 6th year, and it's like go and do a trade, go and be a joiner, go and be a plumber or whatever. And I was just like, I don't know if that's for me. And mate, because I left, just being terrible at school, I'm like, how can I be good at all that stuff as well? And I just left school, and then that's when I was like, right, I don't even know what I'm going to do here. And I left without any real quality like qualifications. Your typical woodwork, metalwork, PE, all that sort of stuff. And then I was like, I don't know what I'm actually going to do here. And I don't know, mate. I felt like it was like I wasn't panicking. I think there was some people who were like, oh, I'm going to go and do this, and I'm like, yeah, but how do you know what you want to do? Yeah. And I always challenged it a little bit because it was like, I'm going to spend 5 years trying to be this, and I'm like, 5 years?
I nearly committed 10 years of my life to architecture and stuff. Crazy, and I was like, and I remember going to the open day, I think it was at Jordan Hill, and it was like, yep, so you do this for 4 years, then you do this for 3, then you do this for 2, and I was like, I want to be out of school. I don't want to be back in it. I was like,
that
system. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Aye.
Not doing that. So what was can you remember your career day at all? Like, because obviously you moved, and is one of the first jobs you get at Sainsbury's, am I right in saying?
One of the first jobs I was going to Sainsbury's, and the only sniff I got to continue into college and stuff was like, they had a bit of an open day, and it was a HNC and HND and sports coaching.
Right.
So it was like, I sort of really got to my name was PE and stuff. And I got invited up to the Met College, Metropolitan, and it's no longer called that, or it's no longer there anymore. HNC was the kind of lower level one, HND was the higher level. And I went up, and mate, I talk about it in the book. It was like one of those things. I'm just getting the bus in, going out of town. I'm like, what am I doing, man? What are you doing? And it was, for me, it was like just saying, like, just talking bad about it. But
was it imposter syndrome?
Of course, it was, mate. It was just full of it. But I've did this for a lot of my life. I'll convince myself that something's shit or it's not worth it when it's just like. And I just need somebody
putting you in an uncomfortable position.
Aye, mate, and it's like, no. I need the other voice to say you're at it. So I didn't want to continue school, mate, or any kind of education. I just wanted to get a job and get money.
Yeah. What was the first paycheck like? Because I imagine that one must felt. I remember mine. I remember getting cash, and I was like, I'm rich.
Aye.
So used to get like 10 quid to go to the cinema, and that would get you sweeties and your ticket.
Mate, it
doesn't even get your ticket.
Aye, it was Sainsbury's, and that's the part where I really kind of struggled to get out of that, because I was getting money, and I was speaking to my pals who'd moved on to college, not getting any money, and then 1 or 2 were doing an apprentice and they're getting 40 quid a week, and I'm going, let's get £600 for Sainsbury's, and they're throwing overtime at me. And
you kind of break down the role, and just knowing the work ethic that you spoke about, I would imagine your mindset would have been like, this is piss easy. This is easy.
Mate, I was Christmas temp. So I had the interview when I was 15. I was wearing a pink, you remember the Primark jumpers that are check?
Oh, aye.
I was one of them.
You went in with it.
I was one of them, mate. It was pink. They must have been like, look at this wee guy, man. I was 15, knowing that if I got the job, I'd be 16, so I'd be able to get it. It was like the 2nd of December. My birthday's the 4th, so I had it when I was 15. It was a Christmas temp. Went in on the checkouts and just scanning away and stuff, and then came to January, and I was one of I think I was one of 3 or something like that to get kept on out of 24 people. So I get kept on, got that it was basic money, 16-year-old money, before you could get any more. And mate, I was hooked at the money. I was hooked at it felt like, it just felt like football or something like that. It was like this you have to go and you have to impress, and like, you have to scan 21 items a minute. And I'm like, okay, cool. What do I do then? How do I scan? And mate, I'm just looking at cashiers. Tracy's got up to 35, and I'm like, Tracy, how does she do it?
Aye, the competitive nature.
And I'm watching her, like, what does she do? And it turns out she presses enter between, say the customer's taking too long to pass,
picking up and all the
presses enter and it stops the clock, and I'm like, interesting. Something like this, like, try to learn, and that was it, mate. And it was just the next thing. I was like, I used to watch these guys. They were checkout captains, it was called, and the guys that if your milk's leaking at the till, they'll go.
They go in. Right, cool.
You press the buzzer and they come over. But I had to press the buzzer when there was alcohol coming through, because I wasn't old enough to authorise it. So, and they had the wee headsets on like Britney Spears. And I was like, that looks cool, man. I need to be one of them.
So you just caught.
And I was 17, mate, and I was a checkout captain. And I couldn't even authorise alcohol. So a wee 16-year-old student would be pressing the button to do me, and I'd be like 2 minutes. And you authorise them. Aye, and then I was a checkout captain. Then it was the ones who didn't need the headset, and it was the team leaders. And I was like, how do you be a team leader? And it's like, they do the schedules. They pick the schedules and stuff. That sounds powerful.
So are you chasing that because there's a monetary associated with it, or is it just like there's a status?
Status, mate. Right. Status. The feeling, the progression is what I love, and it's the same right now with business, mate. I don't chase the money thing. Like, sometimes I wake up and I go, right, come on you, and I go, whoa. And I've actually noticed that in recent times, and I think it's because there's so much exposure now to monetary figures, Hermosi, $100 million CEO and stuff like that. And I found myself over the last couple of months trying to get the status of the guy that's built this thing. And I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? This is never
your
you.
Journey, yeah.
And it's not obvious. It's just when I'm writing things, when I'm voice noting, it's like you're tilting what you're doing here. And I felt it with the gym as well. I was like, I want to get the gym to 100 members. It's not the monetary figure, mate. It's you've did that. And it's like, you need to rein yourself back in and go, wait a minute here, mate. You're not doing it for that. You're doing it. That's the outcome. You're doing it for the journey of it. Sounds cheesy, but it's true.
No, you're right. There's that quote that always comes up. And I think the reason it's so popular is because everyone's like, you know what? You can think of many times in your life where you've went to your dream holiday, or you went to the actual destination, but you're like, the best part was the lead up to it. So the whole journey, the experience. Yeah, it's what we crave for as human beings.
I had a client who, she was climbing up the income brackets, and she 12k, 13k, 14k, and I was like, but our messages were flat, and I've been there. I know what she's up to here, and I was like, what you got to do it? It's like, what do you mean? It's like, you got to treat yourself. No, I need to get the next one. And I was like, but it's funny, mate, because I'm telling them I told you so. But I'm also on the other side doing it. It's just it's a different demon.
Well, sometimes
the same
demon,
demon, but different.
It's good for being in this space of coaching, because sometimes when you're coaching clients, it allows you to go, fuck, I actually need to do that. And we're better teachers than we are doers.
100%, mate, 100%.
So let's fast forward. So when do so you're, interesting enough, you make the leap into personal training to begin with. Not your typical, I'm going to get in good shape and then I'm going to just help other people because that's my passion. You do it because you're like, that job looks quite interesting. You're like, I could sit in my joggies. I think the story you told is like, a personal trainer, he's sitting in these joggies and he's sitting having a blather away, and you're like, oh, it's that fucking class job.
That, mate. You've done your homework. I like it. Same again, mate. I was sitting in the gym. It was in Fallnabank in a gym called Glasgow Fitness, and I was sitting watching between sets. Sitting there, not really knowing what I'm doing. I'm going from rower to leg press and cross trainer, and then like shoulder press. I don't know what I'm doing. And I looked over and I seen a personal trainer. He looked good, big arms and stuff like that. He looked well presented. And he just put a Tupperware. It never his Tupperware looked any better, but it was before Tupperware was Tupperware. I was like, what's he eating in that tup? And he was in shape and he was chilling. And he had a client, and then he's having a laugh with the client and training them. And I'm like, oh fuck, that looks good, man. Like, how do you become a personal trainer? And I just went down that thought process. And I was like, right. And I never hated Sainsbury's, mate. I was just like, I wanted more.
Yeah.
And I was like, how do you become that? And mate, honestly, I would probably say I'm slow at maturing. I would say like it took me to like I'm massively impressed by some of these business owners these days, mate. And I know
how young they are. Yeah,
crazy, mate. We've got some coaches who are just incredible business owners, incredible coaches, people, everything. And in my defence, slightly, like I do think there's more exposure and help now, but never taking it away from them, mate. Like they're incredible, some of them, and the way they conduct themselves and things like that. And I don't know if I'm being harsh on myself back then, but like certainly if between the ages of 20 to 25, I never had my head screwed on. No. I'd like to think I was probably well mannered and helped people and stuff, but massively impressed by these coaches nowadays. But I have always been quite slow at maturing, and then like especially in school and in football, like football for a strange example is like I used to take the ball and I'd be 100 mile an hour, pass it, run, and I'd be all over the place. I'd shut people down. I'd be like, wow, this guy's fast, whatever. But then the boy at the centre of the mid would just take the ball, turn on it, have all this time in the world. Nice, but how does he do that?
He's got the skill.
Aye. Yeah. And again, we're always comparing no matter what we're doing. We're in a role, Sainsbury's. I'm like, what are you doing? How are you doing that? Even right through to like nights out, mate. I'm standing in a bar and I'm going, how is he getting birds?
Really?
Aye, it's like, it's just every this aspect of life. Aye, you question it and you're going, what is that? Do I need to have that hairstyle? Do I need to scan faster? Do I need to stop and practice? Do I need to be better on my right foot as well? All these things go through your head, and I think that's what I really love. I think for everything in life, I've always compared myself, and it's never been negative, mate. It's never set me down a bad path.
I brought this up a couple of weeks ago, like comparison. They usually say comparison's the thief of joy, but I heard the different perspective in that, which was it can be if you're in a bad bias or bad headspace, but it can also be 100%. The driving factor, because you like, how do you know what you want if you don't kind of compare yourself in some manner?
Yeah, that's so true. And I think, see, comparison, right? This is how to sum it up. Like, comparison is flawed because you don't have all the context, right? You only have the surface level thing. But I think if you can ask the question like I was doing, where it was like, how does he do that? How does she do that? And if you can get some context, you can then start to accurately make your move. So, for example, how's he got this podcast studio? What is that? How's he managed to pimp it out? And it's like, oh, well, he's been doing it for the last X amount of months and he's built it up and he's done over 200. And it's like, cool. The sound is quality. What's the sound? YouTube. Like, you start to build up this thing and then you go and listen to your podcast and you hear the original story and it's like, now I've got some context. Instead of, I hate that guy. He's I used to go to school with him and now look at him. That's a shite podcast.
Which is interesting how you bring that up, because that is Scottish nature to a T. Do you think you are misunderstood from people who don't know you?
I think so, mate. I think so. I think I'm quite harsh at times. I say what I think, but people don't know me, mate. Do you know what I mean? I think I don't think I play a social media game because I'd be a lot more popular if I did. I'd have a lot more followers. I'd be that guy that's like people hate, but I did get a lot of it, mate. I get people who just, I think you're right, you're spot on, mate. I think it's misunderstood. People don't hate me because my opinions aren't that polarising. I think people just kind of go, like, what, like, and maybe they get triggered by what I say.
Yeah, like, that guy's not for me then.
That guy's not for me. But instead of leaving it at that, they dislike me, but they don't hate me. And I've got several people who have reached out to me, mate, like, I used to hate you, or I used to dislike you. And I didn't realise, and I'm like, let's meet for a coffee. And
I had this conversation with David Hatt recently, and this is actually what made me kind of re-engage with your stuff. Your stuff popped up ages ago, and I was like, that's cool. It was the Glasgow PT at the time, and I can't remember what post it was. A post I seen, and I was like, that guy's a dick. None followed, right? It's always one. But this is like 4 or 5 years ago, and the biggest lesson I've learned since starting the podcast is casting judgment on someone or opinions on something. Like, we all have our own opinions, our own biases, but we truly don't know who those people are until we sit down and have a conversation with them. And he brought that up, and I was like, I just forgot. Okay, so I'd followed you at one point, unfollowed, and I was like, I forgot about that guy. And I followed, and I was like, fucking hell, you came a long way. That's why I reached out. I was like, this is awkward, but I unfollowed you and I followed you again. Would love to have you on for a deeper conversation.
And that's the power of it. You've unfollowed, remembered, and next thing you know, I'm here.
I think it says more about the person casting judgment always, though, and I think that's something to always challenge yourself on. Same with fitness. It's like, oh, I'm so black and white with this method of training. It's actually the best thing I've found for me and helping clients is like, let me actually look at this other method of training. There's the pros, there's the cons. Make your own mind up, because we're all human beings with our own opinions, and
it's so cool. Like, I was the same. Like, you're sitting here. There's, for every time you've done it, like when you unfollowed me and David unfollowed me. Like, I've done it with 100 other people. You know, it's like we're not sitting here
in your own wee world.
100%, mate. And then you sit here and like you think that you're the dog's bollocks because you've achieved some level of success, mate, and that's the biggest thing is ego, and it's like, right, okay, so for every client that says you're amazing at coaching, can't believe the result I just got, you go, oh, and you build up that, which is evidence and stuff.
Is it Robert Kruger?
Dunning-Kruger?
Dunning-Kruger, yeah. It's like you have this spike of like, I know everybody else is shit, and then the more you learn, you're like, fuck, I'm losing my confidence.
That, mate. It's exactly that. And the best thing I've ever learned from mentors is how they compose themselves about what other people say about them. Or, I used to be, my old friends group, mate, we weren't bad for like talking about people, but we always had a laugh, and then it was at people's expense. It's just someone sitting over there, and it was never
gossip.
Gossip, mate. It was never cynical or anything like that or anything by it. But it's hard to rid that, mate. It's hard to rid that from your
ingrained into us.
Ingrained, mate. And then especially growing up in where we're growing up from. So then I got to a point where I was like, I remember once try to have a bit of banter with somebody. I know, like more experienced coach, and it's like, I know it is what it is. And I was like, excuse me, you might give me some ammunition here. Like, why you not give me it? And I realised, I was like, fuck, that was impressive. And I went, all right, I need to be the person
that calm demeanour that you can just have to any situation.
Why do you care?
Yeah.
Like, why do you actually care? And my content sometimes is like, I aim to trigger people because it's fresh. It's not me creating it. It's just what I've heard. And I'm just coming straight out with it. And, when I was going to Glasgow PT, I was like trying to ruffle feathers. I was trying to grow. I was trying to be known as that. That's why the name was there. So I totally get it, mate. So we've all been there. We've all unfollowed somebody and went, I've made a snap judgment here, especially in Glasgow, mate.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So let's fast forward to, like, you get your PT qualification. Obviously, you went all in on this, like, took your paid leave and then had this 2 weeks of, like, was the course 4 weeks back then? 6 weeks?
6 weeks.
6 weeks, 3 and 3 was it? Sorry, yeah.
3, mate.
Yeah. Yep. And then you're like, right, I'm making this work. Where do you land your first job and how do you land that? Or like, was the part in the course that just sort of felt you through?
So what happened was, mate, we finished our course and several gyms came to us, came to all the students on the last week, David Lloyd, Pure Gym, and I think it was Virgin or something like that. They came and were just basically pitching their gym. And I did my course in the David Lloyd Nanny's Land. And they were just like, oh, you could get a job here and stuff like that. And they were laying out all the business, all the models. So it was like pay, and then, we give you 12 hours of work, all that jazz. And I was just kind of like, all right, okay, cool. Like, you can get an interview here. And then I had an interview for, what did I have an interview for? I think it was Nuffield at the time. Right. Had an interview at Nuffield, went in, kind of did the thing, had an interview with David Lloyd. And
what were you wearing in these interviews?
Oh, mate, probably the black version of it.
In one of your vlogs I was going to open up with, so you believe like you're quite a fashionable guy, fashionista. I think you referred to yourself in one of your last vlogs that you done.
Only recently.
Recently,
mate. So like back then, mate, it's funny because like I've always been quite, I've always used humour. And like, I'd have probably shown up with like a shirt that doesn't fit, because I've always just been like, I was skinny back then and I was short and stuff. So it's like probably been just a mad random shirt flung together with dress trousers. Just dress trousers probably. Just going in. And just shoes, mate. Yeah. Aye, and it would have been, I don't even remember the interview, but I definitely know that when I went to these interviews, it just wasn't my strong point, mate. It just wasn't like, which is crazy to think now because I could talk forever, but it's, I've had to build that confidence. And I've always been, Chucky's funny and he's good at football and stuff. And then, but it's just one of the ones, mate, isn't it? You put that guys on until you build yourself up.
What age are you at this point? So
I was 25, 24. Right.
Get going for the interviews and stuff like that, right? So, and through this process, how do you land Pure Gym?
So I landed Pure Gym because someone told me they were hiring. I sent an email out, got an interview with the gym owner in Bath Street in Glasgow, went in. And I remember it, mate, it took me 10 minutes for somebody to open the buzzer. You know how it's quite shocking with these gyms, man.
It's awkward.
And I was just like, coming for customer service, I'm like, this is terrible. Like, why is nobody greeting me?
Come back to Sainsbury's.
And I was like, right, this is shocking service here. And then I pressed the buzzer. The manager finally came. He didn't know I had an interview and stuff like that. He'd forgot it. So I came in and I was like, all right. But it was so laid back that it made me, compared to Nuffield and stuff.
Yeah.
Because they're salaried, whereas Pure Gyms, at the time it was just
up to you.
8 hours. Aye. And had the interview, mate, because it was so laid back. I was cool. And then got the job. And first 3 years are a blur, mate. They really are.
Do you wish you could go back to that time?
No, mate. I think like the first 3 years I was like so unaware of what was going on. Honestly, mate, the first year I thought I was working in Sainsbury's. I was just like, I thought I was a customer service person.
Was that what you went,
because that was my experience. I was greeting people, saying hi to people and stuff, and it was like, yeah, but you need to get money off them. And I was like, all right, Sainsbury's no paying me. And that was it. It was just strange because I was like customer service focused, but mate, that's what's helped me.
Yeah.
That is what's helped me massively.
That probably projected you further.
Big time, mate. It's a customer service job.
Yeah. So talk about like landing your first client. Do you remember who that was, how that came about?
Yeah, her name was Jackie. And I went on Google and just typed in like a training plan. And it was like a PDF I downloaded and I printed it off at Pure Gym.
Yeah.
And took her round me at the session, and it was just wee Jackie, man. It was a pure shame. But the PDF had all like pictures of the someone doing the kit. So I'm walking about. I didn't even check if they had the kit, mate. It was just like
right. So we need this chest press. You're like, oh fuck, we've not got a chest press.
I'm looking at the picture. I was like, I don't think we've got one here. And she must have just been like, what is going on? And it was just one session. She just paid for it. It was like 25 quid she paid or something like that. Took her round, gave her the PDF to go away with, and I didn't know what to say, mate. Like, no one told me what to do after it. No one said, right, try and sell them on 8 sessions, 12 sessions, 90 days, nothing, mate.
What's the gym culture like back then in Pure Gym?
There was 23 PTs in Pure Gym.
Oh, was there? Fucking hell.
Oh, mate, it was 10,000 members. This is before Pure Gym cannibalised and had Hope Street.
Yeah.
All these places opened up. It was rife, mate. Right. And there was 30 people in a class. A free class, fat loss class at 6:30, fat burn, just 30 people, mate.
Insane.
But you would think,
so much opportunity on your hand, knowing what you know now, but going back then.
And then, so what I was doing, what I used to do, mate, is I used to park like at the Quay, which is 20 minutes from.
I know. I used to be in Ali Bain, like the BT building.
Yeah.
I used to park there. You could free parking.
Aye. So I'd park there, mate, and I'd walk up with my big bag. But
trick,
like when I was doing that, I was working in Ladbrokes as well at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'd walk up and then be knackered, trying to, wearing the uniform and stuff, and just trying to be pals with people like it was a regular workplace. No knowing that I had to go and meet people and get clients, but the idea of going on the gym floor and saying, do you want PT? I was just like, what's that even mean? Like, how do you do that? So the gym culture, mate, was like, for the 20 odd PTs, it was there, very male dominant, 2 or 3 female PTs at the time. Like, there wasn't a lot of female PTs back then. And it was all big guys on roids. And it was just like, right, and again, I'm like, how the fuck's he so busy? Why is he in at 6 a.m. for like 4 hours straight and then getting a coffee and then getting a munch and then going back to back again for 4 more? I need to know what that guy does. And that's when I was just like, what'd you do?
Open up. Mm-hmm. Who did you look up to in the fitness space when you were sort of going through that, or was it just the people that you're surrounded with?
People I'm surrounded with, mate. Like I didn't really.
That's what I mean. I think your journey's like really unique. Somebody's like for me coming in, for example, it's like Cam Von Moger, Simon Panda and all that, and it's like, right, okay, there's the lifestyle, like love what they do, but you've just went, that was like a class job, and then you're in it, it's like, what, right, what he's doing now, how he's getting clients. And all
no,
that.
Mate, I never looked up to
Very
anybody
curious.
Like that. And then I did my first photo shoot. I think it was in Airdrie actually. My photo shoot was like,
was it
Be Fit or something like that? It was called. I don't know. It might be. It was.
What made you do a photo shoot then? So because I've only been in this sort of personal training industry. I've probably followed more of an American industry, as you do when you're listening to podcasts, but that doesn't really trickle away to like what it's like in Scotland or in Airdrie and things like that. So what's the gym industry like in those first 3 years? Is photo shoots a good tactic for a transformation?
Photo shoots are quite unheard of, mate. And then there's a couple of coaches in my gym who started doing them. Not with their clients, that wasn't a thing back then, but they did them.
Oh yeah.
And 1 or 2 was competing. One guy was like, he's my mate. He was just at my stag do there, Scott. He was 20, 21 at the time. And he competed and won the junior bodybuilding. And I never wanted to be a bodybuilder or anything like that, but I was just like, again, he was the busiest there. Part-time as well. Like they could have got me clients, and I was like, wow, how's he doing that? And I was like, and I looked at the other guy, he was just hammering it, right? Both of them were big. And I was like, okay, I can see myself going down a dark path here. And I was like, and my top's drowning me, mate. Like absolutely drowning. I had a 6-pack. It's because I was skinny, mate, and I was like, it was always there. And I was just like, I need to get bigger. I need to be more desirable in terms of that. Like customer service was great, but I had no business conviction. I had my classes were okay. And I was like, I need to lift weights. I was lifting weights, but I was like, I was strong. Like I was pound for pound quite strong. I love squatting and deadlifting. Done nothing for my biceps and that. So now I was like, I need to do a photo shoot here. So I got the guy, my mate, I got him to coach me for 16 weeks to a photo shoot.
Is that the first time you've ever been coached yourself then? Went through personal training?
Yep.
And did that experience help you as a personal trainer to coach other people then?
Massively. It was like what he gave me, I was able just to give to clients because I didn't know any different. I didn't know where to find this information. So, for example, the diet plan that he gave me, I would just tweak it to someone, even though it's very bodybuildery. I would just give them more food and try and be a bit like more.
Aye, bodybuilders were the ones leading the way with the whole online sort of training approach, or the hybrid training approach back then.
Yep.
You didn't have apps or anything like that back then as much?
Nothing, mate. Nothing. It was actually just notes,
paper, Excel.
Apple Notes, mate.
Crazy.
No spreadsheets or nothing. Just Apple Notes.
So you just think like the opportunity that someone coming into an industry now has is like
crazy, mate.
It can seem overwhelming. I've heard you talk about this before. Like it can seem like you're in Tokyo with all the lights flashing at you, and it's like, right, still get good at your basics, your customer service and all that. So we'll come on to that in a wee sec. So it's funny how it is mad how you say that it wasn't training clients for photo shoots, it's training yourself. And there was a period of time where everybody was competing to get themselves through a competition journey. Then they had a big wave of clients off the back of it. Is that still a thing, or do you think it's died off?
No, it's still a thing, mate. I think it's like it's trickling down, and now you've got your coaches who don't even know why they're doing it. They're just like, right, do you want a photo shoot?
Status, do you think?
Mate, status, and I think like we are obviously big on building roadmaps for our clients to build for their own clients. And I think when you think of like a 12-month marker for a client, you know, all is good. They do a 3-month phase where they kind of recomp, they lose some fat, and then they go, right, muscle building phase, improvement phase. And then if we're looking aesthetically, it's like, well, what's next? And it's like a photo shoot. It doesn't have to be any type of photo shoot that you don't want to do, whether it's underwear, whether it's just a gym-based one. And then performance-wise, it's like, okay, I want to do 10 unassisted pull-ups, or I want to do a marathon or whatever. So like, I think for the big thing that's created it, and certainly from the inside the upgraded coach, is just like you have to give them future to work towards, but you don't force the goal on the client, of course. And then I think some coaches from the outside looking in have just saw this success that some people have had in the industry and just went, okay, that's what I think I need to do. But it was the same back then, back in the day, mate. It was like people always look at what successful coaches do and they go, I think I need to do that as well. Whether it's stepping on stage.
Oh, you done it. You done it with your mate, Scott. You looked like, he's busy, what is he doing? It's like, right, okay, he's competing. I need to compete.
Exactly.
That's it.
And then nowadays, mate, it's great to see so many coaches in Scotland, mate, that are big on community, because community is one of those things, and all these other kind of mentorships and stuff like that are focused heavily on sales. They don't think the value of community is there. And I've always said this, mate, when people slate Slimming World, I'm like, we can learn something for every business, and the guys are good at building a community. It's like
you need to ask yourself,
cult.
if we're quick to judge and jump on the opinion that it's probably not the best approach for weight loss because they all blah 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 blah, right? But why are people still going to it? Because anytime you ask somebody about swimming, it's like, oh, that was shit, this is that. It's like, well, why is that still dominating the marketplace? And it's like you said, that community aspect.
Because I go and Tracy talks to me and she knows asks me about weigns and stuff.
That's what's more important about her health and fitness journey than that scale out, which is mad. It's mad. Once you understand,
slating them and go, well, what's your community like?
It's crazy.
Even know when a birthday is.
I know. Are you doing anything around that? So let's just talk briefly about the PT journey that you have. But one thing I want to ask you, because I think you've said this before about your marketing, like you love the marketing side of like business and that. Can I boycotting, branding your name to the Glasgow PT? Where did that come from?
So mate, it was interesting because it has two parts to it. I was sitting, I remember it to this day, mate. I was sitting, I need to change my name. Chris Bradley Fitness isn't cutting it anymore. I was like, I need to get something that people associate with. I can't remember the shove that I got from it. I must have been reading something or watched something. It was like, you need a brand or something like that. Must have been. I remember sitting with my client, Michael. He's my longest serving client. He's one of my first clients, and I had him for like 6 years, 3 times a week. And I was like, right, we need a name. And he was like quite high up in Nicks and stuff, so he was savvy. And a few names got mentioned, and he was like, what about like the Glasgow PT or the Glasgow PT? And I was like, I like it. I was like, it's a bit bold. Does people read that as the Glasgow PT? And he's like, well, and at this point, I was the best in Pure Gym. Yeah. And I was pissing people off with content. I was like, straight. I was like, this is happening. Wee bit of a chip on my shoulder now. It was like, I'm the guy. They've all moved on. Right, I'm the man. And then I was like, right, let's just go for it. Let's go for the Glasgow PT. Spoke to one of the girls in the gym, Hannah. I'm actually going to a wedding soon. She's coming to a wedding, and she was good with computers, graphic design. She wasn't a graphic designer, but she website builder and stuff like that. Before Canva was Canva. Exactly, mate. Canva didn't exist. I know. And I said to her, I was like, could you build me a logo here? And she went away and built me a logo. And that's when it was born, mate. And that's when I could feel people getting like, and it reassured me, mate. I was like, oh fuck, don't get me wrong, I hurt my feelings with some people, but that's the next thing you know, I'm getting her to Photoshop the Glasgow PT onto George Square and all that, so I could post it and stuff like that. So that was how it was born, mate. It was Where did that come from? So have you jumped into mentoring at this point?
any sort of
No,
mentorship?
No.
It's just self-development.
That was all me, mate. That was all me.
Is this just like, where is you, because thinking like way back early days, like you said, you took a while to mature into it, and I think that's because we didn't have self-help, or we didn't have access to self-help books, YouTube, audibles and that sort of stuff. When did that become a thing for you?
Do you know what it is? It's like, I'm looking at whoever's better, and I'm looking at what they're doing, and I'm asking the questions. My curiosity is running wild. It's the same when I started in Pure Gym, mate. I was like, why is he so busy? What is he doing? And I've felt like with a few people, mate, because without sounding like a dick, like I've got to the level and I've took over them. Literally fell out with mates overnight, like people in business, because it's no good that I'm.
Why do you think you end up falling out with them? Do you think is there
mate,
anything on your part, or is it like
maybe, mate? I think like there's just been a couple of people, mate, where it's like, right, how come you were asking me for help and now no one's saying it, but I'm asking you for help? There was two boys. Like I remember, and my mate in Pure Gym and stuff, I'd be like dragging him along to a podcast. I'd be like, let's do this podcast. He'd be like, all right, we do a podcast, because he was good. He knew shit. Had a good laugh, brilliant. But no ambition, mate. And that's not. I don't think anything down of that, right? But I was paying for the podcast, and then he was eventually chatting him, and I'm editing, and I'm posting content. But it just wasn't. And I realised I got to a point, mate, where it's all people just want to take for you. So when I got to a point with him, and I remember one time, mate, just telling him like, oh, look, this is what, I've invested in a business course and stuff. This is what they're telling me to do. That you should take it, like try it, like it looks good. And it was almost like it was met with
turned his nose up,
but not to my face. It was after it turned out and through other mates, like, he's trying to tell me what to do in my business and all that.
Have you had a lot of, like, I guess it's referred to as backstabbing, maybe no the right word for it, but
I think like for business and stuff like that, I think it's probably the wrong term. I think it's like just differences of opinion, mate. People have outgrown each other. I'll never sit here and say I'm better than anybody. Absolutely not. Like, it's probably got to a point where it's like, do you know what? That was a seasonal friendship, and as soon as a speed bump came up, that was it, and that's cool. I left Pure Gym, and it was one of those ones where that was finished. A guy who was in the same space as me, who I once was like, how is he so busy? Moved into the same space as me. I went light years ahead, and it was just like this unspoken thing where it was just weird. And next thing you know, you get ghosted overnight, and then that's it. End of a friendship.
Have you ever been like, has anyone ever kind of cut deep or hurt?
No, mate, not at all, man, not at all. Like,
where do you think that resilience comes from?
There was a point, mate, where I was like, right, let's look inward here. What's going on? Like, is there something that you need to get on top of? Is there something that you need to address? And there always is, mate. There's always two sides to the coin, and that's why I would never, look at one side of the story and go like, no, they were bang out order. They should have done this, should have done that. You should always take ownership, mate. And I just feel that the reason it doesn't cut you deep was the part I got hurt with was like time spent in trying to help people. And I think that in any friendship, mate, in any business partnership and stuff, there's got to be an equal. And I'm not saying you look for that. You don't give 50 and then go, right, I'll wait for 50. I think you just got to feel it and sense it. And just, it shouldn't even be a conversation.
The skills tip that much to one side. It's like, right, this isn't working.
This isn't working, mate. And it's like, and I don't want to get to a point because of my age and stuff and my experiences that I'm just ruthless with that sort of stuff. I've got to be open and
treat every new relationship the same. Like you would with a customer walking through that door. Mate. You don't take
bang on.
Somebody shouting at you 2 minutes before you don't give that over.
Of course, mate. And I think that none of them cut deep. I think there was questions after it and, what could I do different? But ultimately, mate, I think you just get a very good filter nowadays as you go through life. It's like someone young, a toddler, just looks at somebody and goes, I don't know if I like you. And then a granny's just like, will say what they say. So I think
it's like an intuition.
Mate, so I think if we can take some inspiration for the younger and the older and just be in a good place for the prime of your life to make good decisions about people.
Good. What was at your busiest then in Pure Gym? What was like some of your, like, or what do you remember being like, holy shit, man, I can make a shit ton of money here?
Mate, I think like I've always been poor with money, so I think that the biggest thing for me was like it was like an ego thing, and maybe not ego, but it was like definitely a goal was to be fully booked, to be the busiest PT there. So it was like, right, okay, I need to be in at 6 a.m. So it was like, right, okay, I'm sitting there eating my breakfast, and then the second PT comes in, I'm like, all right, afternoon. Yeah, it's like
I wonder why folk
long lie, and it's like and then you started to want that status of like, I know, like, who's the busiest here? And it was like, probably him. Or who's the first in, who's the last one out? It's like him. Now you later find out that being busy isn't that's probably just pure time management. So I used to pride myself on just like being back to back and just like having clients all the time and stuff like that. So I think the moment I realised, mate, was like when your diary's full, and then you start to question, right, these shifts aren't working for me because I could have 4 clients in. And I remember going like, yeah, but if I give up the shifts, then I lose my lead source, which is my classes, because I love my classes, mate. That's what built me up.
Is that where you were getting most of your leads
from? I used to do MetaFit classes. You know, I'd be the only person doing MetaFit classes. This before like Pure Gym and stuff made you stick to a formula.
Schedule, yeah.
And mate, 30 people in it, all body weight, just walking about, getting hands-on with people.
Just having fun.
Oh, mate. And it would get to a point where honestly, like 70% of the people at that class were
Does
my
this
clients.
scratch the itch of like wanting, like feeling wanted or getting that social status?
Course, mate. It's like, again, it's that whole thing, mate. It's like when someone presses the buzzer at Sainsbury's to get new milk and you walk over and it's you that walks over.
Yeah, you like that feeling.
It's like, I'll get it. I'll sort it. Like, it's the same as in, you know, my relationship with Cheryl and stuff like that. Like I need her to know that, look, he's got this covered. Maybe it's like a sense of needing wanted. Maybe it's like but it's human nature, mate. And I've always enjoyed that feeling and right until I'm like, oh, I'm new to Pure Gym. I'm not your guy. And I build it up. And it's the same in the business space now, mate. It's like, and then the personal training business space, I get curious and I look at mentorships and I invest in a business course, and then I come to a point and I go, okay, I'm now competent, but I now know that I don't think people want that. So then you make a decision on what I think people want because you listen to them. And that's what I think happened with personal training and running a gym was just, I'm now competent and now I can make my own decisions. And that's probably the phase where I turn into kind of controversial, opinionated. Like, catch me in Pure Gym, you'd never have seen a post and unfollowed me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's that. I think that's that phase that you go through, like you say, the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you're just like top of the mountain. And now I don't get that anymore because I'm like,
you've been through it enough.
I am like, whoa, there's never an end here.
It's like constant. It's a constant graph. See, at your busiest, did you recognise? Was there anything in your journey? I've experienced this recently. Where I was like, I'm actually under delivering. I might be the busiest, but is this where the seeds planted for like MRR and stuff like that? Because you can be extremely busy. You can have a great month coming in, fulfillment and delivery that you're having with your clients. Did you notice it in your own kind of standards start to drop as you get busier?
The biggest turning point for me was like people saw how busy I was, and it was like, great, like he's really, really busy and stuff. And I remember just like I used to track client sessions through iPhone. It'd be like Crossar, 8 of 12, and it'd be like 9 of 12, and it'd be 12 sessions. And then as soon as I hit 12, you owe me money.
Yeah.
And it was like bank transfer or cash. It wasn't like, there was no payment process or anything. And I remember one time a client said to me, and I was making more money than I ever did in Sainsbury's and stuff, so I was just happy. I was staying at my mum's. Like I didn't check my bank, mate, because I checked my bank for long enough over the years, dreading an overdraft or dreading like, you know, you're standing on a night out in the middle of Glasgow, Sucky Hall Street going, put your card in and you just hope you've got 40 quid for this night out in the garage, you know what I mean? So you get scarred for checking your bank. Yeah. And I remember just like knowing that I had money coming in, that's cool. And I remember a client stopped me at the end of a session one day and she was like, oh, when's my next block due? Block of payments. Typed her name in, and she was like 5 or 6 sessions over her block. So meaning I'd done 5 or 6 sessions with her, and she hadn't paid. I was too embarrassed to say, mate, and I just went, "Oh, this is the first of a new one, so the money's kind of due now." She's like, "No worries, I'll transfer it." And I was embarrassed, mate. And it's like that was the turning point for me to go, "Well, I do not like this kind of uncertainty." So instead of addressing it and getting up to speed with my bank and working on my relationship with money, I remember just like going, I don't want to do this. I don't like this uncertainty. And I remember because I'd been in Sainsbury's for so long, I always wanted to be part of a team. I liked leading a team. I liked managing a team. And that's when Pure Gym were like blown up. They're opening gyms everywhere, and like there's managers positions available.
Yeah, so I heard this. Like you went, so you are up until this point. It sounds like you're pretty you're dominating any sort of space that you go into. You're in Sainsbury's, you're like climbing through, working through, and then you found something that you've got more of a deeper passion towards. The assistant manager post that you went for, what was that like going for it? Were you like a bit your ego going, I've got this, I'm the busiest guy in here?
I mean, we used to do the PT of the month and all that. We used to do like, Pure Gym always wanted you to contribute to the gym even though you're running your own business there. So I was the guy that walked about me as if I was a manager, because that's what I had to do in Sainsbury's. I had to pick, you know when you walk by and you see you see a bit of rubbish on the floor and a PT will walk past it because why would they pick it up?
Yeah.
I'd pick it up. I know it sounds so daft, mate.
No, I remember it. I remember being a member in Pure Gym, and I remember picking up. I remember going, why am I doing this? And the PT's on there, and I was like, could I be a good PT if this is the sort of outlook I have towards life?
So true, but mate, that's accurate thinking. It really is. Like, and I remember like, I remember me and another guy went for it, and I was like, I had all the years experience in Sainsbury's. I was busy PT. I was like, my classes were great. I was always filling in my challenges and all the stuff by the book. And then they interviewed for it, and I mean the guy who ended up getting it, like, and I just couldn't believe it, mate. I was just like, and it was 18 grand a year, and I was like, I thought I was getting this, and that was the catalyst, mate. That was the turning point. I was like, go and address the shit that you're having sorted, mate. And that's when I got business help.
Why do you think you never got it? Was there any feedback?
I think he interviewed better, mate. He was better spoken, probably less emotional than me, less like, you know, I was probably more, you know me, man, like, I'm about the gym, I've done this, I'm busy, I'm this. Whereas he probably read the brief.
Yeah, he answered the questions.
Yeah, he read the brief. He went with he was meant to do for the interview situation. Whereas I went in like I do now with everything else in business and content and everything else is just like, here's what I think and here's the angle I think you need, instead of following the brief. Thankfully in business now you don't need to follow any brief.
Aye, well that's the thing. Like I think the interview process needs to be shaken up, because capturing that, I know it's hard. I've interviewed people for like the corporate job I was in, and I was like, I'd go, right, fuck man, they nailed it. They're going to be brilliant. And the last 2 months in my team phoning in sick, getting sick pay, and I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, because I know how to interview.
Aye, because it's crazy how that can just go.
Aye.
So you reach out to Business Mentor after this then? Yep. Is this the first time you're still in Pure Gym?
Still in Pure Gym, mate. Yep. And then
who do you go to? Is it the American?
No, so I bought a course with Phil Graham.
Right.
This was 3-4 years ago now. And then part of it was just a course, an 8-week course. You walk through the modules and stuff like that.
Because back in this time, like we'll get later into like your journey with the mentoring, of course, but the mentorship space, I would imagine 5-10 years ago, like the big players was like Mark Coles and
Phil Graham, Phil Learney.
Yeah.
And I was looking for relatability, so I'd followed Mark Coles is always my feed and stuff like that. Followed his stuff. I went to a Phil Learney seminar in Glasgow Cali Uni, I think it may have been, and good and stuff. I just didn't relate to it, mate.
There's no click.
No, never clicked. It was very London based. Very. One of the things he told me to charge was £80 an hour in Glasgow City Centre, and I'm just like, So it was great, really knowledgeable guy, but it just never clicked with me. And then followed Mark Coles and things like that, and then that was it, mate. There was no American ads hitting you or anything like that yet. And then I followed Phil, and obviously he's from Ireland, so it was like as close to Scottish as you can get, quite relatable. Liked his stuff, and it was funny, mate, because you follow someone, and then it happens to me now. You follow someone that you've never heard of, and then 2 weeks later you're on a call to sign up. And it was actually a course I bought. I went to a page, bought a course, work through it yourself, no other kind of support. And it was perfect, mate, because it was like the stuff those 8 modules, like no one in my gym was doing
answered all these unanswered. Well, this is you. Mate, you probably get more questions off the back of it, but it's like, fuck, I found something. Wow.
Yeah. Because but when I think this is important to think about, right, is like, see, when I was watching those trainings, I wasn't thinking about coaches in Edinburgh and England, and I was just thinking about my gym, mate. I had to be the best in my gym. When they think about online coaching, it wasn't a thing. And this is the problem with a lot of coaches these days. To go, I'm going to build up one-to-one, and I'm going to build up online. It's like, mate, the easiest thing to sell is getting someone to a postcode to say hi to you and for you to smile on their face and then train them, right? So when I was walking through those modules, I used to sit, mate, and this was the turning point, because I used to sit at my laptop and during the day in the middle of the gym, and people were like, what the fuck are you doing? Wasn't it a thing, mate?
Why are you not having banter with us?
Why are you not in the staff room? Yeah. And I was always in the staff room. And then I was sitting there working through it. I printed off the workbook and everything that they gave us, working my way through it. And I started just implementing stuff, mate. Like a perfect example of what I implemented was like, back then it was like, oh, have welcome videos for your clients. Don't just like get them to pay and then, tell them when to meet you. It's like, film welcome videos. I was like, what? Okay.
It seems so simple, and then you're
crazy.
Like, oh, why have I not been doing this?
But mate, they're not doing it now. Yeah. Some people aren't doing it now.
I know.
And it's like the easiest win ever. So it's one of the first things we look at. By week 3, one of the, Dean, he runs through their onboarding, and the amount of wins that we get from that first week 3 call, because it's just like,
first impressions last.
Aye. So next thing you know, I'm up at it's up at the dams near our way, and dragging Cheryl up and filming landscape, and there's no mics back then or whatever. It's pure windy, and I'm just like, hey, okay, so and I'm by osmosis, I'm just like acting like Phil. It's just that I don't know what way to act, and it's like, okay, how's he doing this? Film the videos. Part of the course was a ticket to London to go to one of his events. Part of it, so I was like, I'm going to go. Went down. My wee laptop, man, the first wee time out of Glasgow, do you know what I mean? The Glasgow PT branching out. And I remember I was sitting there and I took a picture of like outside, and I was like, oh, the London PT, just kind of joking, right? And then 2 seats down was Lewis McFarlane.
All right,
he was just sitting there, and it just known him for Instagram or whatever. And I was like, what's happening, mate? All the way down for Glasgow, and you're here. He'd bought a ticket, didn't he? I think he bought the course. So anyway, I did the course, did the event, sitting there kind of going like that, just watching me, and it was like, right, okay, if you're not in the next group tomorrow, like come to the back of the room, and we'll kind of let you know about the new program that we're launching. I was like, oh, right, okay. The FOMO, the scarcity, and I'm just like,
got the sales down to a T.
What's going on here? And then so it was a 2-day ticket, but I only went for 1 day. Back up the next day, mate, and see the sense I got of achievement from just traveling down to London and coming back up. And then coming back to Pure Gym on the Monday in Glasgow and just going, you just have no idea what's going on here. You just have no idea.
Stuck in your own wee box.
Big time, mate. And I was like, wow, look at this.
What would your recommendations for PTs who are in like different boxes, whether it's private box gym, small group PTing? Do you think it's a good thing to rotate around different ones? Or do you think it's good just to get home your own craft and get really good in your own, whatever environment you choose to do that in?
Mixing up like the model?
Or not mixing up where they go. Like sometimes, like you said, that trip to London, like take the course out of it. Imagine you just took that trip to London, been surrounded by other people, come to maybe you done the free, do you do a free event every so often?
Yep.
Like doing something like that can just give you that spark to go, fuck, there's so much more to this.
Mate, it's this, like if anybody's watching this and kind of just followed my journey and stuff and's been like, oh, Chris is doing great and stuff, like, make no mistake about it, mate. It's not what I thought of. It's not what I've done. It's what I've been exposed to. Mm-hmm. I'm just prepared to go to the next person and learn. So a perfect example was Phil. I got to a point when I was like, who's he learning for? Mm. You put him on a pedestal. Clients put us on a pedestal when we're coaching them in personal training, and then they go, but it's like, who? And I just wanted to know who's next. I was like, who's helping him? And that's when I found out. And that's when I went there.
So see your journey. So this is the start of mentorship. Come back to Pure Gym, and then continued to, I guess, increase the standards of the service that you were given. When do you stop and move out of Pure Gym? Do you go from Pure Gym to owning your own gym? Is that the move that it was made?
Pure Gym, and then I reduced my hours massively, up my price point. I was pretty expensive. Only did about 20 hours of coaching. And that's between, like, I would be working on the business and between filming videos. That's where I started doing challenges, like giving away holidays and stuff. Started doing like online coaching style stuff, but just personal training. And I had people asking me for online coaching, but I didn't really know how to provide it. It was just a case of giving them plans and doing check-ins with them. So I would charge pretty cheap. I would charge like £65 to £85 a month. I didn't know what to charge, and how, like, I always felt my best selling point was me. So I felt I was doing people a disservice. I just
not getting to see
charged a few extra quid and helped some people, but I never pushed it or anything. And then, COVID hit, and it was a case of, right, okay, we need to pivot and go online. And that's when, I was one of the first to pivot, mate. I was surrounded, I was still in a business program, and I was surrounded by other coaches who were panicking and giving up.
Did you stay under, like, just the Phil thing, or did you move on to others?
And also I graduated up to his other program.
Right.
And that's when, I was kind of chipping away at that, and then COVID hit and everybody was panicking. There was obviously uncertainty. And I remember doing a 14-day plan, because it was only maybe 2 weeks, COVID.
I know, I remember.
And I pivoted, the Canva started coming in at this point, and I made a 14-day plan for every client, sent every one of them it. Went on Amazon, sourced bands and all this kind of stuff. Very, very quickly, mate, very quickly pivoted, along with other coaches.
What allowed you to do that? Were you all confident in that room that you can make it work?
No, I mean, I think there was, for, it was 70% not confident and 30% just leading. And I think, Phil led. Phil just went, this is when you double down. We doubled down. And
see, if you weren't in that, do you think you would still, well, you've got hearing your story, you've got the characters that were like, I need to make this work. Do you think it was really important at that point in your life to have someone that was ahead of you 100%. To guide you there?
Yeah, mate, to lead. Like, and again, what you've got to remember, mate, is like, not to discredit Phil, like, he had someone leading him. you know, all the way through to these people who are, you know, 50, 60 years in the game, who know that for every pandemic, for every downturn, this is where you double down. This is where you double down, mate. You know, and looking back at it, it was. Because I went from like, you know, 15 to 20 clients in person because I took my way down and went high paying to 70 within like 6 weeks of COVID. Because I was like Chris Bradley's, why is the clients doing workouts in the gym? Why? Mate, I put a full timetable of MetaFit classes on. I got a yoga instructor. I got a stretch person. And it was just like, I had a timetable online.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa, what's going on here? No, it wasn't all my fault. It was like, you know, surrounding myself, listening and going, I think I could try this. And, you know, so we doubled down in it and it worked. And it was all through being surrounded by people, mate, to go, what are you going to do? I'm panicking, mate. All right, okay, you try this, mate. This has worked for me. Mate, I can't express the value. Like, I will always be part of something, mate, that I can learn from. Now, as I grow through the levels, do I need community? Probably not. Mate, I don't even need my handheld. I think I spoke to Phil twice in my whole time I'd with him. 15 months, twice. It was over Instagram. It was never a question asked.
What was why were you a part of it? Was it just the information that you
Information, mate.
Right.
I just need to, and that's how I learn. I just need to crack on. I'll learn the resources, go away and apply them, and I'll execute like ridiculously, mate. I'll just execute it and then see if it works. Whereas a lot of people learn differently. I get that. And there's different things for different people. Like maybe some people just need explained like step by step. As I've went through the levels, I think there's definitely a need for it because the levels get so big and the topics get broader, and it's like, how does this apply to me? And I've been in business coaching programs where there's a real estate guy beside you, and it's like, okay, I'm going to help a 3K PT with this thing that you've just taught me. How the hell do I water that down?
85 grand house is like, whoa, wait a minute. How
do I water that down for them? So I do think the right rooms, of course, you don't just go throw yourself into these kind of places.
I think there's always learning in it though.
Yeah.
Like you said, you can be so isolated if you're in an environment, you don't feel the people around you are singing. You don't have to be singing off the same hymn sheet, but you said it perfectly, the ambition, having the ambition. I think people are like, okay, 20 clients and I'm happy, and there's genuinely nothing wrong with that. But if you want more, you're almost seen as the outsider.
Yeah.
It's like you have the cast of judgment towards you. Going from 20 clients to 70, was that a bit of a shit show? Can I imagine like that happening in a fast period of time? Like, so if that had to happen now, we got brilliant systems, systemize all that sort of thing. So we could double down on that. But at this time, you're looking at, you got a couple of welcome videos on a YouTube link or something. No training app at this point.
No.
So all on memory or Google Sheets.
It was on a PDF, like but it was linked to
Vimeo. So what was that like? Growing so rapidly in that space of time?
I would say it was quite gradual because although it seemed a lot quick, it was like, you know, it would go from 20 to 30 to 35 to 40. People were distracted as well, mate, because of the COVID updates and stuff. So people were just in, you know, pain. And
the more adherent?
Not at first, mate. I think it was because like people just thought this was a laugh.
It's an empty.
Aye. And there was when they were adherent was in the final eyes. Look, guys. Every call I was explaining this. I was like, look, this isn't ending anytime soon. You need to get your head around this. Secretly, I don't even know either. I'm just saying what I need to say. I'm just trying to lead. But mate, I started getting fatter as well, and I started just like, you can see my face getting rounder and rounder in these videos. And I'm in Cheryl's mum's living room. She's selling the flat, and I'm just sitting there on a pasting table, mate, with my Mac. And I was like, Cheryl, I need to help you. Like, and she done a personal trainer qualification during COVID.
Right.
I was like, I need help. And then she started helping me with the classes and stuff. And honestly, was it a shit show? Like, compared to what people get now? But I just sat with my Yeti mic and WhatsApp desktop and just hammered through check-ins.
I think people forget that because we can always look back a couple of years, even like, that's what, 4 years ago? 4 years ago? The standards of, it's crazy how much the standards of online coaching, in-person coaching as a whole has evolved in that short 4 year windows. I've had a ton of guests sit down and hearing their story, and COVID always seems to be the big point in their journey that's like, boom, that skyrocketed. And at that time, the resources that you've got available is a PDF, some sort of Vimeo that we don't really know the capabilities of what to do with it, video editing, everything's sort of like untapped at this point. I think it's crazy like to see how, I guess it kind of shows the the headspace that you're in. It's like, I'm making this work. Like, there's a need for this, and I want to make this work.
I think you can always, as long as you get feedback from people that spend money on you and give you that assurance, mate, it's the biggest motivational driver. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh, absolutely,
you're making it up as you go along. But when people give you feedback that, look, this is great, man, I'm so glad I've got this, it's like, double down. That's what you're waiting for. Yeah. You're waiting for that feedback. And mate, like I say, I just used to sit there. And I never knew about leverage and time back and automations.
There's tons of stuff like this.
I need to use this mic here, and I need to. I was like, by the way, WhatsApp, I've got a desktop now. I can actually answer my clients' check-ins by typing and stuff now.
And this is why I wanted to start way back, because your curiosity is like maybe one of your strongest gifts. Like being at that town going, she presses the button twice, they all press the button once. So you going camera recording on your Mac and then getting a mic and going, well, that's better quality for my customers to hear. That's better quality for my clients to hear. And you can see how that starts to ingrain in your mind. When do you buy the gym?
So COVID goes on for way longer than everybody expects.
And you decide to buy a gym.
I had a whiteboard, mate, in Cheryl's mum's flat. We had the whiteboard for just like planning stuff and all that kind of jazz, just writing stuff down. That's where I started getting tools and and things and bits and bobs.
Starting to feel like a business owner.
Aye, mate, starting to feel like the business owner. I started getting notepads and all that kind of thing. And Cheryl had qualified, and then we started getting wind that like things are going to open back up. And then I'd heard about like facilities opening down at where we got the gym, and I was like to Cheryl, I was like, look, we could give this a go. And I actually one of the only times that I spoke to Phil was this moment where he said, I was just at a call with him, and I was on a podcast with him actually. I got him on my podcast, and at the very end of the call, I was just like, I'm thinking about opening a gym. And me and him just spoke about it, and he was just like, look, this is like, you could go all in. This is the numbers that you could make. This is the model you could do. And I was like, interesting. Obviously it was the high end. Do you know what I mean? It was the high end of the numbers. And I was like, cool, let's go for it. Let's do it. So I wrote on the whiteboard, presented it to Cheryl, just like, look, here's the worst case scenario. And I've always done this, mate. I still do it to this day. There's the worst case scenario, and here's the worst I will let happen. And I went, look, see if me and you go into our gym, right? And let's say it's $2-3 grand a month. Me and you go in there and we do 1-to-1. We charge £50 each per hour. And we go in and we just work all day, Monday to Friday. We leave. We'll be at 15k. Happy with that? Aye. Like, right, cool. That's the worst we'll let happen. I was like, but here's the ideal world. We go in there and we build a group coaching program. We serve, 4 or 5 people at the one time. We keep it really intimate. We build a really good community. We do X, Y, Z. And it was like, this is the plan. And she was like, okay, cool. And then she gave up her job.
What was she doing? So when do you meet Cheryl in this whole journey?
So Cheryl comes into, so I knew her from school. Right. And then when I'm personal training, she comes in as to get personal training.
Right. So you broke that barrier.
I mean, it was like, do you want some personal training? That type of thing, right? So then obviously I'm training her. Then she joins the gym. She gets a job just like 2 minutes away from the gym, selling life insurance. And then it was like she was obviously on furlough. She wasn't really on furlough. She was just doing her job online. And then so she had loads of free time to do her PT course. So then she did that. And then by this point, we're kind of like, I'm living at my mum's, she's living at her mum's, but her mum's at her partner's a lot of the time. We've got a flat to herself, basically. But her mum wants to sell it. Right. So she's like selling all the couch and all that, and I'm just sitting in an empty living room, mate.
So you move in quite early on, but does COVID force that?
No, so after we actually get the gym at towards the house, towards the end of COVID. Right. So we get the house just before the gym. So we get the house, move in, and then it's like, right, okay, like this, we need to make a decision on the gym.
So you've got a house. Is this the mortgage? Is this the first time you get the mortgage?
It's the first mortgage, mate. Yeah.
So just sitting on that feeling now, was that scary for you, or was that just like, oh my God, I've made it type of thing?
It's like the first phone bill I got. I'm sure you can relate. It's like, you're like, okay, do I need to keep paying this? It's like, yep, it's like 40 quid. It was 02. And I was like, oh, right, okay, I need to make sure £40 always in the bank then. And then the same came in the mortgage. It was like, right, there was always that second thought, and eventually it goes away, mate, because you finally build up enough proof that you'll actually sort this. And I remember just thinking like, oh, right, okay, I need to make sure that we especially if Cheryl's coming in, it's like, we need to be able to pay this. And the way I've always worked it is the most untactical way ever, but it's like, right, okay, the mortgage is £750. It's like, how many clients is that? Like 3 clients? So I just need 3 clients?
I think that's the PT mindset. It's like you just break everything down in an early rate.
PT math. PT math. And then that's when we got the house, and it was like, right, okay. And then it was very, really nice house we could just move into and stuff, but it's 5-minute drive from my mum's house.
Right. So you'd be at the house, and at the same time you're drafting up this business plan or trying to get the gym working out. When you find the location in that, was that someone you know, or is it just someone that just
so
looking in the market?
I actually was Googling it and stuff like that, and I got wind of a guy opening up. It was Robert Morris, his name is, in Morris Furnishing and stuff like that. He was opening up down at Morris Park, and it was actually a client who said who were going to open a gym, or his old coach was going to open a gym down there, and I was like, I wonder what that's like. Googled it and stuff, phoned the guy, went down and seen it. It was just a bit of a building site by that point. And then, you know, the promise in your world about how this place is going to turn out and stuff. I'm like, all right, fair enough. And again, mate, very much like when you go and view your first house, you can just see yourself lying on the couch, can't you?
Vision it.
And I was like, right, calm.
You can see it get emotional.
Exactly, mate. So I had to just try and, I spoke to a few people. It's like when I remember when I went to Arnold Clark to get a car. It was like a Corsa or something. I tried to sell me. It was like 380 quid a month or something like that when I had a 4-year thing. And I phoned my ex at the time's dad, because I've not got a dad, you see. And I was like, what do you think of this?
This is where you need the male opinions,
the male opinions,
the mechanical stuff.
Exactly. And he went, walk out of there right now. And I was like, how come? He's like, just walk out. And that must have been in year 2 of Pure Gym, mate, year 1. I was like, okay, walked out. And it was like, I would have been in a 4-year debt for a Vauxhall Corsa at the time, do you know what I mean? So anyway, I ended up buying a kind of £400 or £500 Clio off Gumtree or something.
Aye.
So I mean, it's like the feeling of getting that mortgage was just that big thing of like, right, okay, I think we can do this. And then the next phase, mate, I think you've just built this proof up, haven't you, over time? As Hormozy says, it's like just build up an undeniable amount of proof of who you say you are. And that was it, mate. And we got to a point where it was like, right, we need to do this. Let's do this. And again, mate, I think a big part of me doing it was like so I could have a gym. I was at that phase again.
Yeah.
Aye.
Stats is coming in, so you're like, right, this is my own one.
Aye.
You've got maybe a bit of experience of what Pure Gyms ran like. You're like, I could do like the whole thing of being greeted for that first interview and going, aye, I can run this better.
And then I was like, I was painting the scene of like, right, I'm actually going to go back to Pure Gym. Like, and in that time frame,
of course, yeah, because
I need to go back to Pure Gym, and I really want to go back there. And I started to think about me being back there, and I was like, I really don't want to go back there. You know, so it's like that was the better option.
So you get your gym, and then this is where it gets really interesting in your journey. So your gym, and I can hearing your story, and I don't know, but I've not known too much about you before today's conversation, but hearing this story, I can start to understand like where the leap comes from of helping people with their business, then actually helping people with their fitness side of things. And as you grow, your 20 clients to 30 clients, 40, 50, 60, 70, it starts operating as the one guy band show of coaching your clients to, right, I just need to think about this a wee bit more strategically. I need to have the right systems in place, operate it as a quote unquote business. Is your love dying for helping people with their health and fitness at this point?
Yeah, mate, it is. It's
was it dying before it? I'm curious, like
what scarred me a little bit, mate, was the amount of hours I done in Pure Gym. You know, the early mornings, which I loved, but like I got to a point where I was wearing busyness as a badge of honor. I was like, I'm so busy, and then eventually I got my schedule down to the point it was good. But as I'm working on the laptop, I'm enjoying that more, creating things, doing the podcast, and I'm like, this fulfills me more. But I'm always trying to juggle as well, going, right, is that a shiny thing or is that a needle mover? Like what? And try to identify that. And by actually asking that question, you already think like a business, aren't you? You're like, so you're starting to be aware of all these things. So I get me exposed to all that time of learning from people who are smarter and watching them. So I got to a point where we got the gym, the name's up on lights. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Big open day. Started filling the gym. I saw that as an exciting task, like running ads and finding people and getting them to come to the gym. And then I started doing like videos. I was doing a lot of videos for like just content. I was one of the first.
I do remember seeing them.
Doing a lot of them, mate. Doing a lot of promos, and really getting excited by that side of it. And then I just had a bit of a stop start, mate, because COVID happened again. We had to close for a little bit, and then we kicked back up. And I was just like, that little break from that wee mini outbreak that COVID had again. I was just like, you know, me and Cheryl we went on holiday, mate, in December. It was kind of COVID, but some places were open. Dubai was like,
come on in. Yeah.
Aye, and I was like, let's go to Dubai. So we went away for a week to Dubai, or 10 days or something like that. And I was just like, and me and Cheryl were coaching, and me and Cheryl had to take it off. So like our clients at the time were kind enough to jump in and support us and all that and help and things like that, keep the place open. But then after we came back, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like I've never had freedom in my mind, because I genuinely didn't believe it's possible.
And I feel Phil talks a lot about this. So you still in that world? Do you hearing that from other people? You step away.
So by this point, I had finished with Phil, and then I was like, right, I need to go and find out who Phil got help from.
Aye.
And that was
tacky. I feel like you've completed your time.
I mean, I had a conversation with Phil, actually. It was a couple of voice notes back and forward as I had the gym. I remember it was on my break for coaching. And I just said, look, I'm finishing up, mate. Thanks for your support. Like, and he's just like, that's amazing, Chris. Like, there's two options here. Like, we can double down. I can support you. He's like, but we are helping online coaches predominantly now. But we can help you with this, and you can move up to his higher tier, and we can work closer 1-to-1 and stuff like that. Or, crack on. Like, I get it. And that's when I was just like, it's time for me to move on. I'd learned a lot. I was the online coaching dominance, and I can network like that just wasn't for me, man. It was a lot of egos, a lot of dick swinging. And I was just like, nah, not for me. And online coaching was booming. So of course I pivoted to that. And that was cool. So I finished up with Phil, and then I spent a bit of a break, and then I was like, right, I think I did a shitty course, man. It was a guy in America. It was like, I think I'd paid for 6 months and I'd done 8 weeks, and it was emails once a week.
I was going to say, do you think you are so never been in the space, going into it, seeing all the stuff that Phil can offer, you're like, wow, how much does it differ when you go from one mentorship to the other? Obviously, you can answer that question in your own terms, like, but is it the same stuff, or this was where you seen the quality drop?
Well, I think, mate, it's like, again, and I knew the filter I had to look through, which was relatability.
Yeah.
So I knew that as soon as someone wasn't relatable, it was always going to, everything they say.
Fighting against that.
Of course, mate. But they had good marketing. They sold well. They were orientated around gyms, and, people had success with them. So it was the one time I think I jumped too quick in my whole business investment career. I don't think I've ever made a bad investment apart from that one. And I tried my best, mate. I'd like to think I'm a good student, but there was just, you'd ask for a resource and they'd send you a random link. There was no organisation, there was no structure, there was no roadmap, there was no path. So I just gave that up and just went, like, that's the end of that. And then I found out who Phil used to go with, and I was like, he helps business owners grow their business B2B. And that's where I spent a bit of time going, like, right, okay, and PTs were asking me, like, classic, can we go for a coffee thing? But then, mate, it just grew and grew, and I was just like, right, this is what I'm more passionate about. I found myself, mate, when I went to film a bit of content on Instagram, I didn't know who I was talking to.
Yeah,
I was like, who's this for here?
Confusing the market a bit.
And then I had clients going, oh, he's never here, he's never in the gym, he's always talking about business. I was like, I know. And then that's when I was like, right, this is causing unrest in the gym as well, because I'm the face of the gym. And we just got to a point, mate, it was like me and Cheryl, I was just like, I think, I don't know if we should keep the gym, what do you think? And she was just like, I'd rather we had more time back, we had more time to ourselves. And
yeah. Which is crazy. And one thing is kind of overlooked in this, because you've got a YouTube video on it, you scaled that gym to a pretty reasonable income, and that also fast tracks some of your goals and dreams. Is this where you got most of the funding or most of the money to buy the house in Spain?
Yeah, mate.
So I think this is so fascinating, because a lot of people have this dream that they had, and there's something that's gave you or allowed you to hit your dream goals, and you're like, yeah, but it's not fulfilling me. It's no tapping into that passion.
Yeah, mate, honestly, it's so true. Like, the gym gave us so much, it accelerated. Like, there was no chance we could have got anywhere near it. It was a 5-year goal, and it was 2 years achieved. And because of the volume of clients we were able to serve, a way more favourable business model, which, by the way, if you go back a couple of podcasts, like somewhere, and if you type my name into Spotify, you'll find me probably slating group coaching.
And you're like, oh.
And I'm like,
mate, weirdly enough, I think maybe episode 10 to 20 that I've done on this, I was like, yeah, like, people will do group coaching. It's no, like, you can't beat one-to-one. One-to-one's the best. And I'm like, you know what, I actually would prefer to train 6 people, because it's not the group coaching, it's the community that you can make off it. It's crazy.
Of course, and I built a full gym, having never done a group session, mate. I'd done my classes, but I'd never conducted a group personal training session. So, but I knew that was the only way to do it. And, I'm fighting quite a lot with coaches that I speak to in DMs or we take on board, and they're just refusing to coach any more than, 3 people, or they coach 15 people and it's a shambles. And it's like, look, or they've got a PT gym, they've got a gym, but they coach 1-to-1. And And I'm like, look, I get that, I get it, but if you as long as you're prepared to make a maximum of 6 or 7 grand with overheads and tax and VAT, then just understand that has to be the case.
Yeah.
So it was one of those ones where when it came to it, I was like, right, who am I speaking to? I don't know. I'm getting unfulfilled here. I'd be sitting, starting to let my standards drop in a session. It's like me, Cheryl's over there running a session, I'm here running a session, and unless the clients are class, I'm like,
aye. So you done quite a low. The models that you ran in as the small group thing, was it only mornings? Did I read that? Did I understand that right? So you done 6 to 7.
Yeah, we did 6 to 7.
Yep.
And then we did 12:30.
Right.
1 o'clock, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
Aye, that's what I mean. Like, so when you kind of look at small group gyms, especially, I'd imagine you've consumed a lot of Hormozy stuff, but Gym Launch.
Yeah.
Is that where you got those sort of ideas from that model?
I mean, honestly, I sat down and just looked at the numbers and I basically tried to replicate my old PT diary, because it was like I considered that to be popular.
Why did you do no nighttime classes?
So we went to do a nighttime class, mate, and I actually hired a coach just in time. So they did Tuesday, Thursday nights. Right. We started the very first couple of weeks, me and Cheryl doing nights, but I despised it, mate. Absolutely despised being there past 6 o'clock. I hate it because I like to get up early and work and stuff, and by that time I'm already on a downward spiral. And mate, I just did not like it.
I see.
And then I convinced clients like, look, come at 10 o'clock, come at 6, come at 7. And we filled our diary by doing that. So it was like we stayed stubborn to it. It's like, no, you need to get up then. You need to get up early and come in. Again, it was post-COVID, so it was like people had like really flexible working schedules, a bit of a hybrid approach. They had people shift workers and stuff. And we didn't want to work nights, so the coach actually worked Tuesday, Thursday nights and mornings.
So your passion has also been dwindling down since you start to open your eyes up to this whole self-development journey. Yeah. I think the writing's been on the wall from early days that you've been very curious of the operations and the systems of like how to grow a business. Where do you pack in the coaching then? Where does that become when you jump to the very last, or the mentorship that was above Phil?
So I went for the guy that was the coach Phil, and
B2B, sorry. That's
B2B, so it's like he coaches coaches to run their business. And I was like, right, let's go with him. And then by this point, it's like the gym's kind of running itself, but Cheryl's in there. I'm now at home. She's getting up and getting in to coach people.
She's like, what the fuck?
What's happening
here to help him out, and he's fucked off.
I know, how's this happened? And then I was just like, right, okay, I'll start building the upgraded coach. I did one big intake of the upgraded coach. Started building it, creating it, and I was just like, right, what's this? Like, what is this?
So back in it, like, was that always is that something that just was on your mind that you were like, mate, I would love to actually help coaches, or was it just because?
I think it was just like, mate, as soon as, so like, just to back up a little bit, like when probably about the last wee bit of COVID where, we had that break again. So I had the gym, we opened it, we had to shut it because COVID happened again. We had a bit of a gap. I think it was 30 days or something like that. We announced to the clients that, look, we're shutting the gym, we'll get a plan online. Cool, we've pivoted before we do it again. And then in that time I had like four coaches reach out for help, and I just charged them monthly.
I remember seeing, I think this is when I followed you at the time, because you'd done like a wee in-house
bit of an in-house thing. I literally just taught them what I was doing with my clients. I was like, here's what we're doing, here's how I do my consultations, my application forms and stuff. And I had phone calls with them and stuff. It was nothing structured, there was no videos or anything like that. And then I started loving it. I started loving helping them. But what I very quickly realised, mate, was I was doing them a disservice. I was like just teaching them what I do, and it was like, this isn't really useful. Like, this is, one of them was just like, I don't do transformations. I was like, what?
You're like, that's all I've done in my life.
I don't know how to help you then. You know what I mean? And that's when I realised, I need to learn. Like, before I can start trying to take people's money, I need to learn here. And that's when I went away, got the help, didn't take anybody else on, not helping anybody with their business and stuff. I was like, all right, I'm not even charging for that. That's just like, it's just a shambles. And then that's when I was like, right, it's time to create something here.
I'm going to double down.
So I went away and I signed up to that business coach, and I was just like, right, how do you actually create a program? How do you create a course? And it was very evident that this is what Phil had learned, because the framework was right there. And that's what I learned. I learned the same framework. Did you see the course I bought way back then?
You could see it.
Aye, I could see it. And that's when I created mine. And that's when I started looking at names. I actually found a piece of paper the other day that was like coming up with names. and it was just like the upgraded
What's
coach
on
was there. Oh mate, it was like usual buzzwords back then. It was like supercharged coach, and it was like all these kind of daft
Only
words.
ChatGPT was the thing back
I know,
then. You
mate,
could
I
have
know.
brainstormed like a motherfucker.
Could have brainstormed with that, but it was just like 5 or 6 names that were just like, and I was like, just need to get it out there, just get it out. And I was like, the upgraded coach, it doesn't seem really good. You're just upgraded a wee bit, it's not enough. But anyway, I went with it and just created 8 modules, 8 videos, which was just module 1, how to find your avatar, and it was just 8 videos filmed in my house, in my office, no fancy stuff, just so in some cases a pair of AirPods, and a slideshow. And
do you have a dream at this point? Do you have like a big vision for it? Are you just
Not
like,
at all.
I'm just going to see if this...
No, mate, do you know what I started to do? Very much like the gym. I was like, right, okay, how do we keep the lights on? And it was like, okay, we need X amount of members at this price point. And with upgraded coach, it was like I actually charged $3,997, of course.
Your standard
$997 for 3 months of it. So I launched it. Got like, I think 25 people sign up or something like that. And so the first 2 weeks, I just took calls every day, signing up. And then I was kind of baffled because it wasn't a great market employer. I wasn't building up to it. I just said, it's finally here. This is it. Took them on board, over-delivered me. Every single one of them had my WhatsApp number. They could phone me anytime. It was like, and then watched the 8 modules. And no goals, mate. No monetary goals either. It was just like, right, okay, let's see how we can do this. But what I did notice, and I remember looking at the numbers, and I remember going like, no matter what I do mathematically here, it dwarfs everything that the gym can bring me.
Right.
Because I was like, right, okay, if someone pays me $997 for 3 months of coaching, if they pay me $300 a month, like,
yeah, that was your highest price point, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was my highest price point for the gym, mate. So like, but I didn't
small group PT,
mate.
So your ceiling was never coming anywhere near
profit margins were you couldn't rival them. So that's when I was like, okay, so even if I get 100 clients, this is my first kind of goal, right? When I started making goals, if I can get 100 coaches that I help a month for $399, it's 40 grand. I went, happy days. That would be perfect. Little did I know there's 100 coaches. How's that going to work?
It's like,
but I thought you could, because the mentorship that I was in had 400 coaches.
Yeah.
And they were way pricier. But of course, way more authority, way more resources, better selling. As a one-man band. So the first goal I had was like, right, okay, just get
to
100
that.
people.
So I'd imagine, like, see in the world goal setting and stuff like that, I'd imagine that's important pillars to have. I go back and forth with this debate sometimes, and the analogy I use is like driving, you need a destination, all that sort of stuff. But I know if I want to go down to London, I know the motorway I need to take through my experiences, but I don't know like the exact destination that I'm going. And it sounds like that's what you experienced a wee bit there. It's like, I don't know what it is, but I just know I enjoy this. Do you think people can spend too much time on getting very definitive on what their big goal needs to be? Or do you think that that's a good trait to have? Like, you should double down on that? Or just, you know what, if it feels good, go with it first and then start to refine it?
I mean, I think you're so true. I go back and forward with it as well. It's like, when I first thought of like every goal that I've ever hit, it's like you go, all right, okay, I want 100 members in the gym. And then you go, right, okay, let's get that. And then every time I've set a big goal, it's like, I don't like setting goals too far away, because you change as a person so much, man. And every time I've set a goal, a year later I'm different and I've changed, and it's like, whoa, that's not the same thing. So I set a goal recently because years of like, right, am I shying away for the goal, or am I saying I don't believe in goal setting because I'm not there yet? But also, mate, it's like, when you run a business, it's like you can't help but shy away from the fact that you have to set monetary goals. And, you know, the more that sits in your head, mate, and the more it bogs you down, it's like, it can be unfulfilling. So you wake up one day and it's like, you have a really poor sales month, and it's like halfway through the month and you're like it's almost September, man. I remember January I set these goals, and I know that's the whole point, is to keep you going and get you back to it, and there's a whole mindset thing with that. But I think, mate, from where I'm at just now, and again, I could answer this question differently next week, but I think for me, it's like, there's the goal, there's the vision, there's what I kind of want to achieve. But if I feel a sense of getting tied to a monetary figure, then you're on a slippery slope, mate, of unfulfillment. So for example, it's like, where is the figure even coming from? What does he need from that figure? Is it just for growth? Is it just for the business growth? Then great. But for me, it's like, well, what point does it get to where you see that figure you're talking about? Where's your profit at? Like, is profit not the most important thing? And that's where it's like, again, you're the only one that knows the full picture. So I think for me, it's like goal setting can be great depending on what level you're at. But I think, as cheesy as it sounds, mate, it's that whole journey thing in it. It's like, because I've seen it at every level, mate. I've spoke to millionaires, multi-million-pound a month people, and they're just like, they're the same, mate. They're the same as I felt when I had a gym and I felt unfulfilled. So what's the point?
When have you been most fulfilled up until this point?
Right now, mate, I would say right now is probably the most fulfillment I've ever had, I think.
Aye, that's where you're at. But see, before you had the gym, were you lacking any fulfillment then? Do you think that's what the...
So what's interesting for me, mate, is like one of the biggest reminders I always get now when I've hit my comfort zone is, how can I be in pure gym, thinking I'm the dog's bollocks, to waiting for a pandemic to hit, to moving fully online, to hiring my missus, to opening a gym, to then becoming a business coach? Why is it waited for that? Now, I know it's part of growth and I've learned a lot in that time frame, but realistically, mate, like the first 6 months of COVID, I was like, why did I not do this sooner?
You could have moved it. You could have pivoted, yeah. I think like that's why I'm going through this part of your journey, because I think the writing's on the wall that you did love the PT side of things, but it was more that was the industry that you wanted to be in. But see, the actual PT side of things, there was a bigger draw towards that than actual coaching people. So
like, see the last, you know, I listen to people talk about mentorships and all this sort of stuff, and half of them don't know what they're talking about. Half of them haven't been through one, right? And it's a bit like a coach. You can get shit coaches, shit mentorships. It's the same thing. Like, it's just people. But I can feel it now, mate. I can feel I'm personal training again.
Got the fire.
Aye, and I'm like, oh, I'm personal training again, and I'm dealing with stuff that Disney light the fire in my belly. And this is why I'm so heavy on marketing now and creating stuff like the PT Salary Challenge and stuff, because I love to do that. I can impact at a scale. So where I'm at just now, mate, is like shifting away from being notified or being known as mentorship, and being like, well, we're an agency who does this now, and this is our thing. Because if I'm sitting there speaking to a coach who's got one client and going, do you like my logo? It's like, it's the same as someone who's just started a fat loss journey saying, what will I have for breakfast? It's the same feeling. There's nothing wrong with those questions. It's just I'm not prepared to hear them because because of what I get that will cause me unfulfillment. So it's the same feeling I get.
Got you. So let's rewind a wee bit with the start of this journey, because I think this is quite cool to hear. Like, you get your first, how many people do the 997?
25.
So 25 people. Was that like, do you instantly shut the gym down, or do you sell it? Like, how does that keep you comfort, or does it mean, because I know that you've got a series called Payday Loans to Millionaire. Yep. Like, Payday Loans, I know I didn't really ask you this, but is that prior to all of this, like at Pure Gym days and all that?
No, that was during Sainsbury's and all that. That was
I just kind of doing like,
just like, even though I was getting paid,
living a lifestyle with friends, and
paying money for nights out, try to keep up with the Joneses, and just been terrible with money, mate. Absolutely terrible. How can you be earning £1,200 a month, but you stay at home and you've got a phone bill? How do you spend that? Back then, but mate, like, do you know what I mean? Back
I know, it's
then,
crazy, yeah.
You know, like, food was cheap, like you weren't exactly buying £300 trainers, but you just spend it, and it's just like you live like a king for the weekend, and then you live poor for 3 weeks.
What was from a monetary side of things, what was the biggest waste of money that you look back on, you're like, why the fuck was I doing?
Honestly, mate, just getting out every weekend.
Was it like £200-300 on drink and all that?
Aye, mate, just unfathomable amounts that you're just like, how? I mean, I used to go for used to be £1 a drink, and you'd spend £100.
So
try to say you bought 100 drinks.
It's funny you say that, because
what does that even mean?
I remember like hanging about with my mates, and this is going back like 10-15 years ago. I remember a boy coming in, and he's like, oh man, I spent £200 last night. I don't know, a club in town, and I never was in that scene. I remember going, that's a lot of money. I was like, that's my week's wages. It's like, how fucking rich is he? How have they managed to do that? And it's like, right, okay, I need to fucking make more money. If I'm ever going to have a night out, I need to have £200 that I'm willing to just spend on drink. So it's mad, like, just how Glasgow culture, isn't it?
Mate, crazy. And it'd be, mate, you'd have no money, and then you'd miss your phone bill, and your phone bill would charge you double or whatever, and then you'd just be, and then you'd get paid the loans, mate, because you need to go out that weekend, and you need to be the guy that's always out.
So you're caught up in that world at one part of your life, and then through this whole journey transformed it to selling the gym, which... do you lose money in that? Do you make money on that?
No, so we go like, right, this upgraded coach thing's kicking off. It's like,
you sell it at a good time?
Yeah, we sell it at a good time, mate. Very good time. We had bought all the kit out, right? There was no monthly fees on the gym or anything like that. We bought all the kit out, and it was just a case of, at the time, our two clients were wanting a bit of an adventure. They were wanting to take something on the side, and we just sold all the equipment to them. straight out, clean cut.
Is it a gym still?
Mm-hmm.
What gym is it?
360 gym.
360 gym. I don't know.
Yeah, so they're running that, and it was a clean exit. It was just like happy days. Like there was no, because mate, at the time, you know how when people boomed and bought all this second-hand gym kit, tried to make a home garage.
Yeah.
So then that was all that stuff was in Facebook Marketplace now, and you see try to sell second-hand gym kit, it was very hard, especially kit that had been built up.
Oh yeah.
It's all built. And it's colour coded. We coloured it orange. You know what I mean? Just about everything.
Bold colour and all that.
Very bold colour, and it was a case of like, okay, let's get this out. And the best thing we can do here is get our money up front for all the kit. There was no way we could include clients in the package and stuff because they were very much part of what we do.
Yeah,
there was no chance. So we got out, mate, and it was like, okay, use that cash. Cheryl went fully online. We transitioned the clients from the gym to online. Of course, like they bought one thing and there's a totally different product, so that kind of phased out eventually. But it gave Cheryl the people to coach and get our skills up a little bit online, and that's when I just went all in with online with Upgraded Coach, mate.
Yeah. So since there, it's evolved. It's went through a massive transformation. What's the journey look like from 25 clients? So is that an 8-week or an 8-module kind of thing? And then you find you always over-deliver, you do the one-to-one consultation. How does that start to grow? Like when do you start getting like your first hire and all this sort of stuff?
So I started to realise it's like, right, okay, this, you know, one thing that I always looked at was like, okay, what did I not get at Phil's course and business program? What did I not get? And it was like that one-to-one contact, and it was that support and being able to ask questions. And so I was like, I need to provide that. So I basically did what I did with my coaching with fat loss. It was just like
recreate it,
over deliver, create good bonds with people, get them to really buy into the process, focus on results. So like the outcomes straight away, and then just started to build it. You know, again, you can only build the service that you would want, and that's quite pretty poor standard because it's your journey, and that's why I think like people sometimes think that they'll just deliver their coaching service and market because based on their past. It's like that was one memory and one journey. It can be helpful, absolutely relatable, definitely, but I had to be more multidimensional. So it's funny because like I was looking and going, right, what did Phil's group not have? And it was like that one-to-one element, and I was like, I need to provide that. It's like, you never used it. So I never used it. I was like, right. So then you start to learn all this stuff, mate, and it's very much like PT, you know, like a big turning point as a PT is when another personal trainer wants coached by you. I was like, all right, okay, I must be all right. And for me with Upgraded Coach, it was like as soon as coaches who started at the same time as me wanted help, and that's when it started building. But the way that I started looking at it is like, okay, this can't be a course. It can't be, 12 weeks and then they go. So I started repositioning it and started putting on community calls, started like getting ready to do events and things like that, and just making it an evergreen thing. And that's where I started to have to really be serious with myself and go, right, yeah, but you have to charge way more money. Like you can't charge, although like £330 is a lot of money per month. I was paying, I paid $6,000 up front and then I paid £800 a month. So it was like,
is money arbitrary at that point? Because does it matter what you charge, whether it's $6,000 or whether it's $4,000? Like how do you? And this is a big question that all PTs go through. It's like, well, he's charging £30 an hour. Do I charge 25 or do I charge 35? Like, do you think people spend a lot of time or too much time overthinking that and just put a price out and then for their scale it yourself?
Yeah, well, that's what did, mate. I put that price out and I was like, this will do. And I'm happy with this. Someone just gave me £1,000. Like I've never had an upfront payment with PT. It was always just monthly. So like, you're like, wow, this could be a thing. But of course, mate, with that price tag comes the pressure as well. And it also comes with the exchange of value. Like, are they getting enough value? Or what if they don't message you on WhatsApp? What are they getting? So it's like, you
start going in your head.
Big time, mate. You start questioning yourself. And like I said with that girl, it's like, I don't do transformations. I was like, how do we grow a business when you don't post transformations? That's all I've done.
Did you feel like in the early days of your mentoring that you were sort of given what you had done, where you were more biased to what had worked for you and try to not force PTs in it, but saying, look, if you're in here, here's what's worked for me? It
was just coaching.
Yeah.
To be honest, mate, it wasn't mentoring, it was coaching. It was glorified coaching. It was, here's what I've did, here's why one of the main things that I did with people, mate, is just back them and support them. Just be like, look, you can do this, just get it done. And that was probably the biggest benefit people got from it, was the accountability of just like, no, you can do this. And because it came from me who's a couple of steps ahead, they've been like, right, okay. And then they have that belief to go and do it. Because, mate, a lot of the time, like, this is where, like, when I first created Up Your Coach and stuff, I had a bit of a running with Phil, because he was like, you know, I've had some people tell me that you're copying me and stuff like that, and you know, I'm ready to go. Do you want me to tell you who you've copied stuff with? Do you want to really let me go there?
So this was a question I had, like, when you're in a mentorship and you get a lot of value from this, and then you're pivoting, you become a competitor in a sense. Mm-hmm. And I was going to say, did you ever butt heads with Phil?
Yeah, mate, butt heads. He messaged me. So the way it kind of it transpired was, one guy signed up with me, and then he signed up with Phil. He messaged me and he was just like, you know, we helped him the first 2-3 weeks, man. Like, big message from him saying, this is amazing. We did this. I signed up a PT client for a year, $4,000 and all this. Like, cool. Guy was whatever, right? And then he used that $4,000 or whatever and some money towards it to put to Phil. So he's like, I'm just going to sign up with Phil. More ideas are the better. And I was like, I probably don't recommend that, mate. Like, getting multiple ideas, but
could be,
you know, it was very. One thing people need to realise is, it's like, and I always get asked that about Phil, because I was one of his big success stories, and I don't mind talking about it. It's like, Phil's a competitor now, but at the end of the day, I came through his system years ago now. But like, people still ask me about it. They go, "You were in Phil's group, weren't you?" And I was like, "Yep." I don't hide it. Like, at the end of the day, Phil's got like 10 years on me. Do you know what I mean? And what I learned was incredible. But he's a competitor now, and make no mistake about it. And it's like, we people always like to bring it up, and it's like, it's fine. And it's like, I did to Phil what people should or try to do to me. Why go to me? Why not go to the guy that Chris learned with? Because I'm looking for who taught Phil. Yeah. So I get it. I completely get it. But the guy signed up with Phil as well, and then.
So I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. Sorry to interrupt just as we get into the juicy gossip here. I'm only going to be less than 60 seconds here. If you haven't already left a 5-star rating on the podcast on this episode so far, I would love if you could consider leaving that 5-star rating. It's the best way to support me and the show. And even better, it's free to do, and it'll probably take you less than 10 seconds. So that's enough of that. Let's get back to the episode.
They sent screenshots and stuff like that to Phil. Like, by the way, this Chris guy's copying you, even though the guy was doing well, right? Phil messaged me just like, look, Chris, like, you know, like, I've heard some stuff here, but I knew about it. Just like, I've heard some stuff here about people, you copying my stuff and things like that, mate. Obviously, just not ideal, whatever. And I was like, look, mate, it's not. I was like, have one of your guys just have his coach at the time, who's actually just finished up working for a year,
right.
Who worked for him at the time,
right.
And I coached him recently. I was like, have him log in. Here's the logins, mate. Go in and have to check it. Me, like 8 modules and a wee teeny course, mate, on Carter or something like that at the time.
What did it feel like when the accusation?
No, so that first one, mate, was fine.
Right.
It was the second 2 or 3 that was worse.
Right.
It felt shit, mate.
Does it?
So
because imagine Phil's a role model in a sense,
of course,
in your
mate,
life.
like, of course he is. And, you know,
were you embarrassed by it?
No, mate. If at first I wasn't, because I knew I was like, take the logins. I don't mind. So then it fizzled out. And then I had another message from him. Bit of a threat, to be honest. It was just like, look, I don't want to have to get lawyers involved. And I was like, did you get somebody to log in? Here's the stuff. Like, it's there. Go and look at it. And by this point, I had signed up with Taki, who he learned for. Mm-hmm. And I went, do you want me to show you the workbooks that you've used as well? Mm. Do you want me? And I went for lawyers to have a great day, mate. No worries.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and I was ready. I was ready for that because, mate, the thing is, you know, when you learn frameworks and stuff like that, it's not good to copy people straight up. And I know Phil had an incident recently where people copied his captions and stuff, and he came out and spoke about it.
What's that?
Phil done a video recently that someone sent to me that another in the business space has come out and just literally copied his captions word for word.
And I think this is important to understand because when you're a PT, imposter syndrome is rife, right? Mm-hmm. You're like, how do I go into a marketplace that everybody else is? We're all talking about fat loss, and there's only so many ways you can talk about it. And I found this, like, I would get inspired and I'd take, like, that was a really good point they made about fat loss. I'm going to now create a video on that. But I need to bring my own personal spin in it because you said the framework is more or less the same. Things can be changed out and you have your own way in it, but ultimately it's your experience that you bring to that. Mm-hmm. So from day dot, you've got your own experience. You've kind of put fucking your whole life into this at this point. So I was trying to imagine like the hurt, like this thing.
I felt horrible. Yeah. I remember shaking. I remember just being like shaking with anger, shaking with like this guy who has been in the space a lot longer than me, has got money, has got, probably got a lawyer. Like, I've not got a fucking lawyer. What do you want me to do here? And I remember just loving the buzz of it. And, mate, I think 2 weeks before I'd filmed a testimonial for Phil.
Gotcha.
So, it was on his site. It was like, I'd filmed it. And now I can feel Phil's shoes felt. I can feel the messages coming from people. But do you know who was sending them, mate? It was people who are jealous. That's all it was, mate. It was people who are jealous that I had grown and done pretty well off the back of being in Phil's, and so were they, and they hadn't. And now I can understand Phil's frustration, like, because one of the things, I'll give you a quote that Phil actually said to me once. He's like, "There's nothing new under the sun." Because I remember saying, I was getting frustrated people were copying me, the Glasgow PT, copying my stuff. And he went like, "There's nothing new under the sun." I was like, all right, okay. So nobody's really thought of new stuff. No. We're all copying somebody to some degree. And he used the word osmosis. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? And I looked at it, it was just like, if you look at some of the clients that Phil's had in the past and stuff, and he's created all these mentorships. There's 5 or 6 of them that are just copycats of him. But they talk with their hands and all that. They just actually copy Phil's mannerisms. It's crazy. And like, it's such a big impact that Phil's had on people. But when he said this stuff to me, I was obviously hurt, and I was very much aware, like, right, I know the truth here. And I was, but so that made me feel better, because I was like, look, here's what I've got. Now, to go on, like, taking inspiration from what you've done, probably, but the fundamentals of business are the same, mate. It's like, if you're going to teach anyone in the PT space how to run a business, you're going to start with who they help. Then you're going to start with a price point. Then you're going to start with how they're going to deliver their service. That's the modules, mate. Like, there's no secrets there.
Can't reinvent the wheel.
You can't reinvent the wheel. So this all comes from any modules that you can get out there. So I felt hurt, mate, but it put fire in my belly to go, like, right, okay, that's the end of that relationship, as far as I'm concerned now. And it didn't end. It ended like with have a great day, it'd be good to catch up soon, that type of thing. So that was fine. And then I've never spoke to Phil since. And I think that,
where are you at this point with your upgraded coach?
Oh, we're growing.
Is it became
noise,
20?
Aye.
So you got 25 upfront payments. Are you in the monthly model yet?
We're in an upfront payment for 6 months.
Right.
So we're 4K for 6 months.
Right.
And again, mate, we pull prices at our arse, don't we? We don't even know what prices we're doing.
You're just going to say, right,
I'll go a bit cheaper than them.
I'll start here, and as you used to hire staff, you do the math. It's like, okay, these margins need to be this, so the price needs to be X.
You just know that, right, okay, if they're charging that much, then I must be, not as experienced, but I'll charge this. And pricing's all about testing, mate. I know it's a margin thing, and I know it's a business thing, but really it's about testing and checking conversions. But again, mate, I'm like, I've shut the gym by this point, and I'm just happy to be doing all this from my living room, off in my room, mate. Like, wow, I'll take this all day long. So you're not getting picky, you're not like, but you've got someone in the space that is coming after, like, what you've done.
How many people you got at this point?
50.
Right, so
50 clients, right. So then, they go in the back end, a monthly payment and stuff. And, I had my first member of staff who's helping out with answering messages in the Facebook group and things like that.
Did you feel like there was potential for that to be pulled down? Because if, like, you always hear rumours, like, and it can take one bad opinion to start a rumour, and then that rumour can spread like wildfire. Was that happening at this point to your business?
It was like, the way he had explained it is there was like 3 or 4 people had sent him these messages, and I think the biggest thing for me was just curiosity of who. I knew the one person the first time, but they were saying there was multiple people. So one thing that I did was a message Phil's member of staff and just be like, look, mate, I know that you've probably heard this stuff. I'd love for you to go in and check our course and our resources, and just know that we're not just copycatting you. Like, I think you can probably tell I'm pretty much an authentic guy who just got my own voice. Like, you can go and do it. And he appreciated that. He appreciated me going out and just messaging his staff member because again, for him, he doesn't want this shit landing on his desk, does he?
No.
He doesn't want his coaches then telling him, his staff members telling him, by the way, this is the second time, third time. So he has to address it head on.
I can imagine do you think you were one of the first to sort of branch away from Phil and start to be a competitor?
I was one of the first. I actually put an event on in the gym, which was the Fitness Thrive event, where it was just, I got some new mentors to come up to my gym to deliver some value for PTs. We give the money to charity. It was £6,000 we earned for charity. It was a online ticket, and we streamed it in my gym because of COVID. You couldn't allow people in, so we just got the business coaches to talk. $6,000 for charity we earned. And then that was the point where it was like, okay, cool, like this, who's who now? And that's when Phil's mentorship, then people just grew from that. You know, all these guys grew from that. And again, mate, like you're hoping to inspire people, it's going to happen. And Phil done a video recently about it where, you know, Phil never badmouthed anyone, even on private calls and stuff like that. It was never his thing. He was always just focused on himself, and that's why he's done so well, mate. Yeah. One man, one mission he's on.
Have you seen the video where there's a reporter, and he's in the car with someone from, I think it might be, it's not Apple, it's like one of their competitors. It was like a Windows phone, and he's like, oh, did you see the Apple convention yesterday? And he's like, nah. He's like, oh, their phone can do this. He's like, I don't care, I'm focused on this phone. And there's some beauty to be told in that. It's like you can get so caught up in the gossip and the hype of like everybody trying to badmouth and tear each other down, but ultimately focus on you, because there's plenty of business out there
but
for us all.
Also, mate, there's two sides to a story.
Absolutely,
it's
yeah.
Like we get people coming to our programme and on sales calls and stuff and go, oh, I was in such and such group and it was terrible and they never talk to you and they tell you to send DMs and they tell you to do upfront payments and this, and it's like, do you think you're painting a picture here to you to be a great client?
Aye.
I was like, I will always side with, like, I will always take an objective look at it, right? Mate, it's like there's people who have left my service and were like, you tried to do this, tried to say this, but it's like, no, did you not see the last 4 messages? Like, there's context, mate, and there's always context. So I'm never one to, maybe in the past with a PT, of like someone's came for an RPT and I'm like, oh really, did that what they did with you? Because I'm not,
I was the same in the early doors, and then and don't get me wrong, I'm always more harsh on myself. Like, yeah, I've lost that client because I've dropped the ball with the service I've done.
Yep.
But then realising it's like, oh, they could easily have the same story with another PT on that when it's not the full picture. But it's just human nature. We love to kind of.
But it's also just the wrong person's end up in your front door in the first place, mate. It's never going to work.
Yeah, and also I would imagine you're not the type of person to just stay, right, okay, I help coaches increase their prices and get more revenue from personal training. You're also growing as an individual as your services get better. So to say that someone can't grow in that space of time from being on the gym floor to where you're at now.
Yep.
So how does that you're under Phil and then you break off, you're doing your own thing. There is, over the last couple of years, mentorships have grown.
Yep.
Like, it's if there was a point where I was on my feet and I'm like, you know, everybody's got a bloody mentorship program. Were you like one of the first people doing that? And do you think people seeing your success was like, fuck it, I'm going to do that?
Yeah,
too?
I think I was one of the first to break free. There was a couple of people, like I was one of the first in Scotland, mate. That was my big goal, was to go, right, I need to dominate the Scotland marketplace because there is no one here.
Nothing. Yeah.
And I saw that as it, and I went, well, when I was looking for a mentor, I was looking for relatability, and I was looking for a Scottish business coach, and there wasn't any. So I thought to myself, I can be that guy. And, you know, I was like, right, okay, let's run with it. And then there was, you know, after kind of Phil's group and stuff, there was just a lot that came from it down south. But truth be told, mate, it's like, if you think that the fitness industry is booming and online coaches and PTs are everywhere, what did we expect? You know, and it's like, if you look at, even if, I remember like one of the guys said to me, he was like, he was in Phil's group and it was a Facebook group and he saw like 500 people in there. He's like, well, if I'm paying £800 a month and there's 500 people in there, hold on a minute. And of course, it's a bit of a stupid way to look at it, innit? Because you need the infrastructure, you need the...
Why do you think people have that? Because you're right, people will be doing the same thing, I would imagine, in the past, doing the numbers and going, man, Chris is making a lot of money. And then you're like, yeah, are you getting the service? So is that ultimately like what it all comes down to?
I think people think like that, mate. It's like, people don't understand. You ever had a PT client just turn to you and go, and maybe they've got a bit of a chip on their shoulder or whatever, and they go, I give you £280 a month and you're in here all day, how much must you make? You know, and it's like, it's just a bit of a misunderstanding of what goes on, but at the same time, it's curiosity. People are just like, how's that work? And someone did say that to me and they were like, oh, I can't believe he's got 500 people in his Facebook group and, you know, we're paying that money. And I think that's people's way of looking at it. And look, listen, you know, even if the mass was 100 people off, 200 people off, it's still pretty good going if you're going to look at it for a career. I do think, mate, that it's a tricky one, mate. It's like, I always remember with personal training, right? The way I used to explain personal training is like, it's the best job ever, but I wouldn't recommend it to most people. And it's the same with business coaching. It's like, and I know people might think I'm just saying that, but it's a weird thing, mate. It's like, PT is like, it looks so good and it can be so fulfilling, but I see so many people struggle with it. And business coaching, I think there's a few people just parked the bus and just went, I'll help 20 odd coaches here, man, and it'll be better than talk about fat loss.
So I remember like doing the episodes on mentorships like in the past, and I remember one thing like I actually think is true, like because it's true for us as coaches. It is easier to coach the system than actual implement. But I think as a business coach, do you think there has to be an element of you doing the do? Because I'd imagine you could park up shop and you could run a marketing agency and dominate that pretty well with the simplicities of just going into businesses, filming everything that you know from content creation to marketing. I think you've actually said that in one of your vlogs before. So what does it take to be a good business mentor?
Mate, I think like the big thing for me is, and it's so hard to answer that question where I'm at now. I'm trying to think of like the stages I've gone through with it, because like in my book it was always like support. I think there's a really fine line, mate, that I'm always trying to dance around. Me and the team are trying to dance around. There's coaching, there's consultancy, and there's mentoring. And it's almost like what hat do you need to wear for this specific coach? And you could just say a blanket statement like, oh, it depends on where they're at. You know, if it's 0 to 3K per month, they just need an element of coaching. They need a handheld. They need some accountability. Crack on. But what's interesting, mate, is like as I went through the ranks and I've seeked out business coaches who are multi-millionaires, like you want less and less for them. And I guess it's because whatever they say holds a lot of weight. So it's less about teaching you and it's more about the authority that brings from that statement, because it brings conviction, which brings execution from you. So it's like if a multimillionaire says, do this thing, you're like, okay, and you just do it. Whereas if someone who is just a couple of steps ahead says to you, you know, try this and I'll hold you accountable, you kind of go. And what I'm learning from, like, if I look at our best clients that we've ever had, like, you know, we use WhatsApp, and that's the way that we communicate. We do one-to-one coaching with our mentor and business coaching with our clients, and the ones who use the WhatsApp group the least are either the worst or the least progress or the best. So in other words,
no middle ground.
Yeah, mate. So it's like, where's the line between coaching and consultancy? So for example, mate, I know business programs, so you don't even get to speak to the guy or the girl who owns it, right? And they use some daft app that you never look at, but they still get success stories. Now, could they be playing the numbers game? Absolutely. You know, if you get 500 people in a Facebook group, but then you've got 30 posts of results, monetary figures, you're going to look the dog's bollocks. But what a terrible success rate you've got. So I think like what makes us different, I think for me, is like the best people to come to us are the people that buy into the story, buy into the way we are, they buy into the tactics, mate. It's like, funnily enough, like there's a few business coaches that I just don't get their clients and they don't get mine. Think about that for a sec. Like, we just don't cross, because for every Lamborghini they're driving, I'm the guy that's just talking about when I used to be skint, and I'm not talking about money sometimes. I'm just trying to, I need to play the game at times, but I'm just a normal guy, which sounds fucking weird to say, but so there's some business coaches that are mentorships where we don't even cross paths. We don't even have their old clients, which is crazy. So I think for us, it's like, I'm the business coach that I needed. So I think that if you can resonate and you can relate and you can go, that's the path that I want to follow, I think that's what makes me a good business coach. I don't think there's anything else. And, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it, at the end of the day, like how the experience is with them. But I do think our unique selling point, mate, is their ability to drown out the noise, mate, and not get carried away with the noise that it brings, mate. And that's why we're so big on MRR, because when all is said and done, mate, you just want to sit there and look at your partner, or you want to look at your kids and just know that we're stable here. But the guys haven't done it in the past, because stable's not sexy. It's like you trying to preach consistency. We know we need it.
Aye.
It's not sexy, but try to sell it.
I try to kind of.
There's no fad diet called consistency.
So, when do you get when does it hit home that you're going to double down this brand called MRR? And this is where, like, what? Because imagine, like, you have this, you go in, you're doing it for the love of it. You get 10 coaches in, and you find things like, I don't want to do transformations, I want to do it this way. And you're like, fuck, okay, I'm changing that. When do you start to iron out all those issues and that becomes?
So I remember just being like, again, we go back to it, and it's like, I always felt like because these guys were ahead of me, I was always going to be a couple of years behind. And I was like, how do you accelerate past time? Like, how do because you've
time
got
served. It's like you can't rush it.
Argue with that, mate. So like, I was studying it and reading about it, and then the thing that changed the game for me, mate, is I was reading a book, Expert Secrets, and I've studied that like mad, and I actually went to Florida and I bought Russell Brunson's course and stuff like that. And the big thing he talks about in that is like a new opportunity. I think he calls it something different. I've kind of called it a new opportunity. He might call it something different. I don't know if I changed it or not. But the idea is, like, I was reading it and I was like, right, how can you take people that are at the start point and they want to go to the top of the mountain? And it's like, if you try and tell them that your thing's better than them, than theirs, anything that ends in an ER isn't that great. So like, we'll get it faster than you. We'll get it like, you're going to be stronger after it and stuff like that. That's an improvement offer. So you're improving things there. And people don't typically want improvement, mate, because they know it takes work. And this is all psychology based, and obviously there's different industries where this will work better. But I thought to myself, I was like, right, okay, so what's the marketplace got right now? And it's like, can I be faster at providing results than those people? I could, but like, they've got way more resources, way more money, so it's harder. So then every time you got to make an offer, you realise how much you're just making an improvement offer. And I was like, fuck, right, okay. So it's like, you need a new opportunity. It's like, okay, everybody's sitting here going, come in, Mark, my taxi, it's faster, and it's like, it's better, and it smells better.
Aye.
It's like, we've not got a taxi, mate. We've got a totally different vehicle.
Got a bus.
We've got a bus that's a totally different experience. So that's when I was like, right, so I combined that, I racked my brains, and I did market research. And if anybody's watching this who's a business owner, like, if you want to find what your ideal market want, don't think that you know them better. Go and do anonymous market research, because you will find out more about people than you ever thought. Now,
so what did you do then to get anonymous market research?
So what I did was, because there's like, if you look at your consultation forms as a coach, right, and we look at our business audits, you can get a lot of information there. It's good. Consultation forms, you can really tell what they're struggling with. Check-ins they're good, but they're people are aware. They know what to say.
But artificial.
Aye, they're artificial. They say, oh, by the way, I'm struggling, but I know I need to get back on it and track my food, whatever. Whereas, and then for coaches, we've all got egos, and we're all like, we like to swing our dicks, right, for want of a better phrase. And when I ask my clients about it and stuff, or when I ask my DMs and stuff, they always just say shit, right? And I'm like, you don't want that. I know you don't.
That's why the biggest companies do. What's the word you use there? Anonymous research on, like, tell us how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Tell us what you're enjoying about the role.
Yep.
Tell us what you don't enjoy.
Yep.
And this can never get back to you.
Aye, that's what I did. So like, I was like, right, okay, so let's do anonymous market research and find out what they truly want. And I did a video, gave away £500 and said, look, fill in this form in my bio and I'll give you £500 to the winner. How we'll identify it is you'll put a code word at the end of the questionnaire and I'll share it. And if you can tell me one of the answers you gave, I'll know that it's you. Perfect. So I got like 175 replies. And my old friend ChatGPT was here by that point. Mm-hmm. And I was like, right, let's study these questions, man. And I put all the questions through. It didn't give me too much. So I put every question through individually, spent hours doing it. And the most common words, mate, were they want safety, they want stability, they want predictability. And I'm kind of like, right, it's just like fat loss. I just want to feel confident again. I want to, I just want to like, the outcomes that they were looking for isn't drop 20 pounds and yet we promote that. They just want to feel good in their skin again.
So see at this point, is your whole within the upgraded coach or the coach's mentor, is it like, look, we can get you to get more money in? Or is this
Aye, mate, it was very much like, we didn't have a promise, we didn't have a unique selling point. We were just like, we were starting to do what I did with the Glasgow PT, mate, was just building really good client events and community. Mm-hmm. We were really good at building communities. I always felt there was something missing, mate. I felt that we were just not getting people the next level results. And we were building a good community. And I was like, well, where is this going here? Like, we need a USP. We need something. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we're always going to be in the shadow of these guys that have been way bigger, doing it for way longer. So it was like, we were just trotting along, mate. It was like, first 2 years were amazing growth. Year 3, it was kind of like, it was good, but it was like all the other mentorships were coming about and there was a lot of
new kids on the block.
A lot of noise, mate. A lot of noise. And it was like, what is the USP here?
Did you feel like a wee bit drowned out? You're like, we're all doing the same thing.
Aye, mate. It was actually frustrating because what happens is you just get compared and then the mentorship name gets tarnished as well, doesn't it? Because of years of...
Well, that's what I said there. I was like, there was a time where I was like, and I get caught on it. I get not like burned by it, but I was like, fucking hell, does everybody get a mentorship these days?
Yep.
And it's the same with PT. It's fucking hell, is everybody a PT these days?
That's what
and
people are
it's
saying.
Aye.
That's what your marketplace is saying.
Yeah.
And this is why I spend so much time building a new opportunity for my clients, because they're getting the same feedback. Oh, I've had a PT before.
It's not for me.
It's not for me. So our market's getting it as well. And yet coaches are sitting bitching about mentorships, knowing that your market's saying it about you, mate. So you need a new opportunity. You need something different. And mate, that's what I'm passionate about. The first call I have with coaches, I speak about their business audit. Caitlin and Dean do the real work in week 2 and week 3. I'm like, what can we do here that's going to separate you? Because it's stuff I love talking about. So I did anonymous market research, and then I found stability, safety, predictability. And then I went away and I was like, right, how do we make this sexy? Like, what does it even mean? How do you get stability, safety? And it was like, right, monthly recurring revenue. It was like being predictable. It was charging clients this way. It was doing a fucking good job, mate. But it was like making it a thing. So everybody likes to think that they do their best to keep clients. And it's like, when it comes to a client going to renew in the first of the month, it's crazy, mate, because you'll experience this. But for the last 2 years, you've got to transform their lives. You've got the message from them. But what a lot of people do, mate, it's like there's a waiting cycle between when they last paid you and they paying you again. And this is why maintenance phases are terrible if you market them like that. If they haven't received anything in the last 4 weeks, they go on that, mate. They don't go in the last 2 years.
Aye.
And it's crazy.
You always remember your bad to the good.
Of course. You know, and it's like, can you imagine?
It's a defence mechanism, I think, as human beings. Like, we probably, something ingrained into us that, I don't know, back to our ancestral days. If somebody died last night, but it doesn't matter how long we lived without an animal attacking the village or whatever it is, then we want to know, right, fuck, we need to get our shit together.
We need the danger, 100%. And I found that interesting because it was like, everybody says they want clients long term and they want to keep doing a good job and talk about retention, but you know, even coming off the back of speaking to people on another mentorship, they were just very sales focused, mate, and they were the most unstable. I remember having an argument in a Facebook group, right, with this guy who ended up turning out to be a business mentor as well, and someone in the group, someone just casually joined, asking an innocent question. It was just like, hey, I'm just looking to price up my online program. Like, what do you guys recommend? No, like, okay, mate, so how long have you been doing this for? What have you got? How long have you been in the program? What are you doing? 997. I was going to say flat rate, 997. And he was like, oh, how? Like, I can't charge that. Like, I'm charging £150 a month. I'm not charging up front at all. The guy piped in, oh, you need to charge that. That's what we all charge in here, 997. Then you go to a back end of like 137. And I'm like, this to myself, I'm like, you know, fuck all about that. How can you charge 997 for 3 months up front and then charge 137 after? How does that work? I was like, if you're talking about the glorious 10K, like, how many clients do you need at 137? What if you don't get a sale? And then the comment back was enough that you had to, that was all you had to know about it. It was, yeah, people just eventually forget if it's only 137 or they don't really bother. So there's no purpose. It's like, so you want me to run my business on hopefully people forget, like a Sky bill or a phone bill or a $6.99 iTunes thing? And in the world of impact coaching, a wee bit more personal connection. Yeah. So they were putting transactions over relationships, essentially, right? And I just never sat with me. And I remember going speaking to a guy who was in business, a different type of business, and I was just like, can I run this price point, these price points by? Does this make sense? Because it doesn't to me. And he's just like, that doesn't make sense at all. Because like, especially if you're trying to manage a group of people, and they felt that like, there's an argument to be made that a customer or a client gets a lot of value up front. Yeah, absolutely, right? Absolutely. But when it comes to fitness, mate, and when it comes to the numbers that they're trying to hit, you know that's another number. Think about it. It's like 137 times, you know, how many do you need to get to 10K? Crazy numbers, right? And then that's why people are so volatile. So I knew this. I knew the volatility that people are facing with the up and down months they have. I felt it. That's why I applied for the job, the assistant manager job. Then it was like, how do we create stability and safety and stuff? And it was like, right, okay, our big tagline at first was like, help people buy a house, travel abroad, and start a family, that type of thing. Because that's what people really wanted in that anonymous feedback. So, and then it was like the whole thing about MRR came to be, and mate, do you know, it was tough, mate. And I guess this is part of trying to create something different. There's no resources on it, mate. So there's nobody saying I copied them because I had to try it, mate. I had to create it. Like in the coaching space, nobody really talks about MRR, mate. It's very much a SaaS thing. It's like a software thing. Monthly recurring revenue is software. So where did it come for you? Or you just looking at your page, you're striking like, that's the number I want to see go up. Mate, I was like, the recurring revenue is what helps you go to bed at night. And it was like, right, okay, but if I don't have any sales this month, am I satisfied? It's like, yep. Now, the biggest misconceptions about MRR, mate, is like people think we just charge monthly. I think it's a monthly payment, and it's like we just charge monthly, and that is it. It's like, and that's exactly why we've done well, because it's like your misconception of MRR is the actual thing that has allowed us to grow. Because MRR is about, mate, it's like we have 10 pillars to it, but you know, one thing that we don't do is, one of the pillars is sales. We're sales focused as well, because we have to add people, but we're incredible, mate, at creating excitement, future, retention, lifetime value. Being authentic is a big part of MRR. Like, it's huge. So that was when we found it, and it was like the Glasgow PT, mate. I'm not going to lie. It went, who's this MRR thing? And now, mate, you see it everywhere.
You've got it tattooed.
Got it tattooed, mate. They're not going to copy that. They're not going to copy that. But it's everywhere now. And it's, mate, I remember one time, by the way, I'm not a fucking pioneer here. I'm learning for people. Remember that. People listening need to remember I'm just behind the person that's learning.
We'll get ideas from somewhere.
Well, that's it, mate. So I'm not pioneering fitness or fitness coaching or business coaching or anything, but I'm executing and I'm learning as I go. And one of the things that I remember seeing was like, I used to do transformations, right? And transformations were getting a bit repetitive. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to put a video of me in between the transformation. This was when Video Leap was born, right? Before like captions and all that. Yeah. Video Leap was one of the first ones that made it easy. And I put a video of me in between the two transformations. I put the name of the client. I was like, this is my client, John. He just did this, he just did that. Like, proud of you, John. And a guy copied me word for word, and he copied every layout of it, right? And I sent him it. And I was like, people sent me it, and I was like, mate, what the fuck, like,
just change something
about it, mate. And he's like, oh, sorry, mate, I didn't even see that. And I was like, mate, you didn't see it, but you've copied it word for word. He's like, I think I must have saw it, and then maybe I've subconsciously copied it and stuff. And anyway, that got me frustrated, and I get it, but it was the same with MRR. And it's like, now these people are preaching it, and it's like, guess what? I never made it up, but I just listened to my fucking market more than anybody else did. That's it. I just listened to them, and it took the time to figure out what they wanted.
Do you see that as a positive thing, though?
Of course, mate.
A question I wanted to ask you earlier, like when you were talking about all the mentorships going up, do you think there's enough business for them all?
100%, mate. I think, like...
Do you see them as competition, or would you see them as like, you know what, if you're doing well, I'm open to collabing?
The biggest problem they won't collab, mate.
No,
they won't collab, mate. I had 3 or 4 mentors come to my gym, I gave them the platform, and then over time, there's just they're glorified PTs, mate. Mentorships, mentors. We're just PTs, mate. We just like take away the PT letters and just put mentor at the end. Like it's to the point, mate. That's why we've rebranded and we don't want to be known as a mentorship, because these people have like, it's like, you remember when personal trainers were getting a bad name and stuff like that, and even to a degree, and PTs don't call themselves PTs anymore. They want to be coaches because there's so many charlatans out there and stuff like that. So for us, the mentorships out there, like there's something for everybody. There's a person who's one step ahead of you, and they'll just tell you how you feel, and they'll give you a wee cuddle, and they'll get you to do your form every week, and they'll just treat it like an actual coaching program, fat loss program, but it's just mentorship. For me, mate, it's like the help I've got from the guys way ahead of me. Like, I tried to explain the mentorship to some guy, right? And I had a call with him. I bought his course so I could get access to him. I tried to explain the mentorship game to him and what we do with our clients, and he was just like, he couldn't get his head around it, mate, right? Because like fundamentally, if you locked me in this room, right, you say, Chris, you need to help me grow my podcast business, right? Or like there's going to be gas coming through these vents. Like, I know that's extreme, but like, would I sit there and try and like coach you? Would I tell you to do your thing at the end of the month? Like, we'd fucking get to work and we'd do the things that get business. Now, I know we can't do that for a 2-3K coach because they're learning the ropes and they're getting better, whatever else, but we still need to have that drive. And I'm not talking about go and make money. I'm talking about do the needle moving activities. So when I explained it to that guy, that was when the light bulb moment hit for me, and I was like, why am I? And that's when, in defense of like Phil, for example, Phil's group, like he's just done the reps with people that he's just, whatever he says here might seem harsh, might seem like I don't want to charge that, but he's trying to tell you that all these years of lessons just cut to the chase because you're going to get there anyway, not just the price point, but in general. So I think for me, it was like, we need to get away from these people, and there's plenty of people to go around. But one thing I would say about these kind of other business coaches and stuff like that is like the part where we suffer or it affects our ideal avatar is because we're newer, they're 60 to 12k in debt before they come on a sales call with us. And you know, we pick up
6 to 12, well,
6 to 12k in debt. You know, because there's success stories and some poor stories everywhere, like us.
It's like anything. I think there's a framework there, and if it depends on the person, their ability to follow it.
Of course.
And that they are the small percentage people. We've all had those clients. Boom, there's your plan. It's like, oh, it's a great transformation. Yeah. And the ones where our coaching comes into play is the ones that need the actual coaching element through it.
But mate, skepticism's high now because it's before the mentorship boomed, and it's always going to flatline. Yeah. And now we're in a position where the majority of the coaches we speak to, mate, have been through a mentorship and have either been stung, or it's been okay, or it's been good. They just want another voice, but it's hefty price tag, mate. It's expensive because,
it is.
You know, and then try to do another one or whatever. It's some people can't recover for it.
So just on that theme, then, what do you think, or do you think there's again you're misunderstood as what you do inside the coaches mentorship group?
Think about it, mate. Like, if for the first 2 years I was going off the back of what I've been taught and how they ran things until I learned my own thing.
And do you think people have left your mentorship thinking that is still your identity?
Of course, absolutely, mate. You know, like when you become a product of something, it's very hard to shift that. Yeah. So I'm very aware of that. You know, it's like even when we go back to Phil, everybody mentions it when I was in Phil's because I went like this because I invested in him and it was great. And then people are always going to associate with that. And then I created my own thing, pissed a few people off, and then it's like, okay, let's see where it goes with this. And it was okay, and then it was like, now it's starting to differentiate again. And it's like, right, okay, where does what does that look like now? But remember, I've only just started pivoting, so it's going to have to take 2 years of undressing who we actually are. And this is why the wording that I use is different now. This is why the way I talk about what we offer is different. This is why we do away with certain elements that is tied to a mentorship. We had a staff meeting 2 Fridays ago, and I said to them, how do we rid the last piece of this mentorship out? And you know what's funny, mate? It's like, see the way people come into us from the mentorship mentality, see the way they behave and act when you're coaching them. It's like they've actually been, even if some of them haven't been in it, they feel like they have to act a certain way.
Yeah, they're like morphed.
And I'm like to people like, mate, you don't have to act like this. Relax. Like, we don't care about like big fucking fancy things, mate. It's like, you need help. Your audit says this, like, relax. And it's like, but people come in and they think, oh, they talk to you in DMs, mate, as if you're like, you're going to fucking sell them. And it's like, mate,
I'm a normal guy.
Like, relax, bud. Like, I've had people go like, oh, this isn't Chris. And I'm just like, I just send him a selfie and I'm like, all right, mate. Who is it then? Is it my AI version of me?
Yeah, soon
yeah,
to
you're
be.
right, mate. It's spot on.
That'll also be I'll be interested to see how the mentorship world grows with the age of AI and that. I think that makes it easier for people to run their own thing. On your mentorship thing, so something that I think maybe knowing kind of more about your story and kind of diving into all the videos that you've done, the 2x and 3x on the MRR stuff, I quite liked, and I never knew this about because I made a judgment early on and I was like, oh, that's just like Slimming World, like getting up there, glorifying a number when, yes, the number's important, but really it's about the work and that and the stability comes in. So I actually heard you, when you were talking about it, you said you don't put how much the person's made because that doesn't really what matters, but what matters is they have made improvements, they've doubled that income. So just touch on that a wee bit because you got feedback from a client, you're like, brilliant, made 20k a month, and then you dived into the report and you're like, here mate, your expenses are 19 or whatever it is.
Aye. So we took to top on top of the new opportunity, mate. One of the things that I learned is that a future-based cause. Like your clients have to have somewhere they're going collectively as a community. So for me, it's like, right, okay, what's the journey of transformation? So if the transformation is like, you know, for fat loss, it's like emotional, and for business, it's an emotional. But like, what is the journey to go through it is, if you can 2x or 3x your business, you have, in theory, 2x or 3x your client numbers, aka the clients that you've impacted. So the way to quantify that now, it's like, how do I make that in a sense for a coach to strive towards? Now, if a coach starts with us at 5k and they 2x their income to 10k, like, surely they have added 3/4 of the client base to it because they have to, right? They're not just charging more. So what that tells me is I want coaches to be proud of something that we do with them, where we take them to. Now, where this doesn't apply anymore is if like the profit's terrible. So then that becomes a different thing when clients are in an elite program or whatever. So we had to come up with a way where it's like, right, like, mate, we have coaches, we have a big award event coming up in October, and we have coaches who are just, that's all they're thinking about, mate, so they can get a 2x award. So like, there's people that look at that and go like, oh, 2x, 3x, 4x, like, what does that even mean? It's like, well, the reason I'm saying it to you and the reason there's no context to it is because it's private and because it's like, it's something for our clients to strive towards, not you.
Yeah, so your judgment of it is
valid. It's irrelevant because you don't know where they started. Now, we do it 2 times where we'll like start an MRR and finish MRR because, make no mistake about it, mate, people buy on either results, relatability, or like they buy on like the mindset shift that you've made them, the belief shift that you've made them have. So we have to cover all bases with our content.
Yeah,
that's marketing.
It's your marketing side of things.
And of course, there's going to be people who look at that and go, 2x, yeah, I don't want a picture like that. That's going to put me off. I don't want a picture of me in my underwear for a transformation. I'm put off. But then if you can combine that with variations of social proof.
You don't need this. You can also get this.
The one I posted this morning, 60 brand new small group PT members, like have just joined our gym. Like there's no monetary figure there. You're building a community of people, like 60 people.
Is there a downside with each one of those pillars then? Like, so if you double down and say like, have you seen this? Because you're the best person to ask. You've had multiple different coaches come through your mentorship or your coaching. When they're marketed to saying we can 2x your income, have you seen any coaches come into it for the wrong reasons and cut a corner, and you've had to kind of shift their mindset and kind of draw them back a bit because they're so focused on a number?
100%, mate, but we tend not to attract them anymore.
Oh, really?
Aye, because there's ones out there who do that.
So what shifted then? Like, what did you notice?
What happened is, mate, I wanted to get some of the best coaches in Scotland to ask for help for business. I wanted to be the guy that in Scotland. So I was going to start actually really just niching down on it, mate, until we could earn the right to broaden it. So we don't typically get any clients, mate, from like, it's a wee bit further than Newcastle, but it's like Midlands upwards. We don't get anybody down low than that. We've actually got one amazing client who is, but he's an exception. Because of that relatability factor, because half of them don't understand what I'm saying. So I was just like, may as well double down on it. The one or two listening, I was like, I'm further down than that. But you get what I mean? And they travel up, but the majority comes from north of the UK. And so we got to a point where it was like, right, how do we? I just want these guys, and it was a reputation thing. Is that I want the best coaches in Scotland to ask me for help, and that way that it's like, okay,
social proof.
And we started doing it, and there was a couple, mate, who on the surface just looked amazing, and they were uncoachable. Pull apart their business, they fabricated numbers.
I was going to say, is it more like they wanted the status of the followers?
Yeah.
And to make this flashy lifestyle of earning money?
Wanted to chat out at events. They wanted to be exposed to that. They wanted people to say that, because the upgraded coach boomed quite quickly, mate, and people just wanted to be part of it for the sake of it. And then it was good for me, and then it was like, well, and they done fuck all, mate, in the program. Honest to God, it was like, and I turned to the team and I was just like, we're not taking anybody else on here who thinks that they're. It's funny, mate, because like, and I don't mean to talk down at people, but like the way they portray themselves for all these clients and all this money, and then you go on a call with them and they can't even pay you a split payment or whatever. They have to go on monthly, and that's fine. You've got debt and whatever else, but never portray that image, because it actually goes to your detriment if you portray that image, right? And that's when we went, right, okay, no more of this flashy, you're chasing that. Because it's also just not me, mate. It's just not my style.
Yeah.
So there is people out there who are like that. The flashy lifestyle, there's Dubai lifestyle, which we go to as well, but we're not, it's like, it's a Scottish guy in Dubai. It's not some, and if you want that, they're very easy to find.
Yeah. So
it's just by default, mate. It's like by learning and going, whoa, is that what comes with that?
So see, in the past, do you think you've kind of fell trapped to, like, Chris is the guy you go to if you want to earn more money as a coach, rather than Chris is the guy you go to if you want to become a better coach? Is the two differences in those statements how you've evolved?
I tell you something, mate, like I've got a statement that we use in ads and stuff like that, and it's maybe a controversial opinion and stuff like that, but I believe you're a business owner first and a coach second. And again, that's my experience and my maturity saying that. But there's some people who are sitting on their high horse like a white knight, just saying, no, just be a better coach and you'll make money. And you'll do well. Like, you will. Mm-hmm. But I don't want you to get to that point where you don't even know how to run a business. And I do think it's an experience thing. I think if you take a 23-year-old guy or girl staying at home and they've got a decent PT business, they've got some support, happy days, take it, right? But I do feel there's an element of like these coaches who, and they're all popping up as well, how to be a better coach. And it's like, that's great. But telling a 21-year-old who's never been on the gym floor how to be a better coach online by replying to Loom check-ins in a certain way, like, they need people skills. That's how to be a better coach. Customer service, like just speak to people. And again, of course, I get that, but I do feel there's a shift now happening where it's like this emphasizing of how to reply to a check-in properly, how to be a better coach. Now, I do think that it's very valuable, but I do think that you also have to do it in line with running a business because, mate, when all is said and done, you can sit there and wear your coach jumper all you want, but if you don't have a business to run, you're not a coach, you're just a guy wearing a jumper. And I know that sounds harsh, but like I've been in gyms for 8 years. I've looked about. I've seen great coaches who are not in the game anymore. Great coaches, mate, like tactically amazing coaches. But the refusal and to face up to the facts that they don't know how to run a business leads them to become a manager in a gym or leads them to go try something else. Now, it's great that there's such exposure now to these guys like Dr. Mike and all the guys down south who are really good at showing you how to be both. You go be a Ultimate Performance, you Nick Mitchell and stuff, he's got his standards of coaching. Amazing, right? And of course, the other side of the coin is people just like to make money online. I get that. But I do think for the upgraded coach, what we're trying to teach people is like, if you can be a people person and if you can have good customer service and care about people, I think the coach thing comes, mate, because you should be fulfilled by it anyway.
Do you feel like people who aren't fulfilled by that, they never last?
I don't think so, mate. I don't think so. I think like there's so many people out there now who are slating mentorships going, oh, it's all about money, it's all about this, it's all about that. I have spoke to people, mate, who on one-to-one calls about paying for, their family's bills and, everybody talks about, I want freedom. 3 big goals, mate, is they want freedom, they want to pay off their family's debt or they want to give back to their family or they just want to have a good life and it's fulfilling. It all requires money, mate. Like, this has come from a guy who's never had it and he's got it now. But, like, it's like, I've never had it and I've always chased fulfillment. So I'm just trying to speed that process up for people. And I just think that there's a mentality now that it's like the coaches are so confused about what they have to do. And it's like, honestly, the thing that you need the most is the timing for you. Build a business. I nearly quit. Again, I'm going to be biased, but I tried to be a good coach. I watched people, I studied their classes and stuff. I tried to be a good coach. And then I nearly left the industry. And it wasn't until I flicked the switch and said, I need to know how to keep clients here. Retention, working on the service. So I'm always going to be biased, but I just feel that people, like, if you try and be a good coach, you need a business to be a coach.
It's an interesting perspective because I've been in that mindset. I was like double down and becoming a good coach first, and they both do go hand in hand. But if you do any sort of self-development, you listen to any Alex Hormozy stuff, it doesn't matter if you don't have the best product because everything can be marketed to. But longevity and the personal training, for example, I think time will tell if you don't brush up on those skills as well. So what do you, so communication and all that, so do you double down on becoming a good coach as well? Here's the skill sets to have a good coach.
We double down on like, it's not so much like how to conduct a session and how to like, reply to clients and stuff as it is like,
well, you said earlier, it's like people looking and like, oh, Chris just tells you to increase your prices and whatever. Like,
yeah, mate.
That's the tarnished name of mentorships these days.
It's like the one thing I would always say to my clients is like, how am I coaching you? Like, what's happening right now? It's like the ridiculous amount of support, a plan built around you and your life and your business, a push in the back when you need it and an arm around the shoulder when you need it. Like there's both of them are there sometimes at the same time. So it's like, look at the way you're getting coached. But ultimately, mate, what I've always looked at is like, right, if you look at successful coaches and stuff, and so what do you need as a bare minimum? I feel that what you need as a bare minimum is customer service skills, right? And if you've got that, the busiest PTs I've ever met, mate, are just good with dealing with people. Like, always. And I know the game's changed, right? But they're just great at dealing with people. Add on some business savviness, and they're off to the races. I've seen great coaches just, like, not know how to run a business, and I've seen them leave the industry. So I think for me, it's just a case of, right, when in the upgraded coach, we can sense a good coach, mate, because the questions they ask, what they say back to you, how they conduct themselves. So I think it's like, we don't specifically go out there to teach you how to be a better coach as much as we do, like, here's how to run a business that gets client results, gets them paying longer forever, and builds an amazing community. So I think that comes hand in hand with being a good coach. Because what is being a good coach?
I was going to say, I think the misconception there is probably people just think, okay, you've increased your prices, you're doing some sort of sleazy tactics with your sales process to get people to pay more, but you wouldn't. I think it's bizarre because if you wouldn't be here still doing what you're doing if that was the tactics you were selling, because you see the rise of mentorships and then you also see, oh, they've pivoted already and they're now following whatever the new fucking hype thing is. Yep. So like the writing's usually on the wall and you've literally been in this, like you're also growing as well. And that was like kind of on one of the last points here. So the events that you do, like running from the first wee event in your gym to going to like 30 people, 50 people, 150. What's the biggest kind of event you done? Was it 100?
Just while it's on my mind, I'll tell you that last point there that about PTs and stuff. And I think it's important for people listening to know is like the two biggest complaints that I see in DMs and stuff when I'm chatting to coaches is like, they're like, I hate sales. I hate posting content. I just love coaching. And then it's like, and then some of them are burnt out, overworked. They love coaching, but they're fed up, right? And they come to this burnout stage. And it's like you realise it can't coexist for a long period of time. So, and the only way to fix that, you can't out-coach those struggles, burnout, and like just frustration is in like not knowing how to create content and how to market your services. And those problems can be fixed by learning business. You can't out-coach them. Yeah. You can't over-coach your clients to it. So anyway, I just wanted to add that in because it's like,
no, you're right.
It's the big thing.
It's like it's not a secret, but it's so simple.
Yeah.
It becomes like, okay, that's the need and that's why we have people that you can reach out to. Like,
how would they feel, mate? How would coaches feel if I went like that to them? I hate coaching, man. I just love marketing and selling. Like that to them. You can't do that, you fucking dick. But it's like, no, it's all part of it. It's the same jigsaw, man. You can't just take pieces. If you want to complete it, you need to put them in. And that is it. And I don't sit here as an overly sales guy. Go and check my podcast over the years. I'm not sitting here on my high horse as a business coach saying, by the way, you need to focus on that. It's just, I see it time and time again. We coach hundreds of coaches. It's like, I'm trying to reduce the learning curve for you. Yeah.
Do you believe it has mentorships as a whole? And obviously you'll have your own biased opinion for what your mentorships, but mentorships as a whole of where it's at in 2024 does more good than it does bad for coaches.
Oh, it does way more good, mate. Yeah. It does way more good, absolutely. I think one thing I would always urge people is just get a really good bullshit filter, man. Like, ask a ton of questions. If you've been stung before, just understand that, like, literally every conversation you have in your DMs is a client of yours or a prospect who's been stung before. And be open-minded to stuff. Like, look for something that resonates with you. Look for, if you want to just go and stack hundreds of money, and just look for the person that's talking about that. If you want to go and be a better coach because you think that's the path, go and find somebody who literally says those words. Here's how to be a better coach. One thing I would say is, like, there's a line between getting an outcome and it being just a nice thing. Like, I'm at a stage in my career now, mate, where I want an outcome, and people just like, oh, we'll teach you how to be a better coach. How can you quantify that? How can you quantify being a better coach? And by the way, give it another year and these how to be a better coach programs will be 4 or 5, 6K as well. And it's like, how do
you find they're quite usually undercutting the price?
Of course they are, because there's no outcome.
New start journey,
It's like me and you sitting here, the new, and like I say, the gas is coming in, and you say, and I go, right, let's teach you just like how you should conduct yourself on a podcast. It's like, nah, mate, I need to know how to press record here. We need to film this.
We need to get reps.
And of course there's the reps and there's duration, but there's some things out there that, like, you do need an outcome with your service. You need an outcome. And I think that's the thing for us. It's like, we never had that before. Because we're trying to play the card of everything. We're trying to play the game of everything. But at the end of the day, when all is said and done, you're tied into what your outcomes are. Same with fat loss, same with fitness, same with performance. So I think as a whole, these mentorships, mate, like, you can't talk about mentorships unless you've been through one. And even at that, it's your experience. It's your story. It's what you did or didn't do. It's what they did or didn't provide. It's, mate, there's people 2 years ago who are part of the Upgraded Coach, and they'll look at what I'm doing now, and they'll think I'm talking shit, because it's like, it's unrecognisable now. And it's part of growing. It's like when as a PT 3 years
for your first client to your third,
it's shocking.
300th.
So what we're trying to do now, mate, is like, and a big emphasis we're trying to put is who the person we let in the front door is. Because we've had horror shows, mate, and there is no fixing it. We had someone recently who just wasn't happy with the service 6 months in, and it was just, we had a different team at the time selling them, and there was a mismatch of what was promised versus what was delivered. And that all comes from the start process. We're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole for 6 months, and it's like you never promised that. It's like, is that what was promised? Fuck.
It's also learning for you and where you.
Of course.
It's like, oh, is that something we want to promise, or is that something that we did promise and we've just dropped the ball with, or like what?
Make no mistake about it, mate. Like, it's a service being provided. There's going to be mistakes. When people sit and poke at mentorships, going, "Oh, that was shit. Didn't do this," and they always talk about that. It's like, that's a business you're talking about, mate. Like, what do you mean? Like, do you want me to actually shadow your PT sessions and find some fucking home truths about you? Like, you know, you go to a gym nowadays and you could pick anything apart on PTs, but they don't get judged on it. Yeah, I know it's different when you pay money. You can definitely judge something, but I just think that for every bad mentorship, mate, there's 100 bad coaches, and hopefully over the next year or two, these mentorships are getting called out and they're brought to the surface,
and
so
they
that
kind
people
of ironed out.
Ironed out, and then people.
Time, like you said earlier, like time served is a thing, and with time served, those who do it for the longevity is usually who stands toe to toe with kind of any sort of rumours or anything that goes good. It's that you built up so much social proof that it doesn't phase you. It doesn't. It
and that's
doesn't
the
go
thing
against
about,
you.
like, mate, like in Phil's defence as well, people slate Phil because he was the market leader,
And when you're at the top, people always want to kind of pull
you're
you
at the
down.
top, like, and he's helped. See, during COVID, mate, he was the first to pivot, and he got everybody in, and he gave them a plan, and he blew up. And then it was like and then it was during that time he blew up. Do you think he managed it all well? Probably not. It's like your business triples in 4 months or something. You're like, whoa. Try to manage team, try to deliver. So, you know, we get people coming for different mentorships going, "Oh, that was terrible in there," and I'm like, well, whatever you say, I'm going to take it with a pinch of salt. However, what I will say is, what do you know want to happen again? We can definitely use the information.
Oh, absolutely, and grow and all learn from it.
Of course.
That's why I'm surprised that there's very little collaboration in it.
None, mate. There's none.
Because there's a lot. Like, I like the thing about PTing now, because I used to see it as like every man for themselves, but now I'm like, we're actually better off because we're all serving the same mission. We're all trying to help people with their health and fitness.
Mate, and that's why I used to do podcasts like yourself with all other coaches in your space. And we, like, at first I thought it was good, and you know it's kicked off again. But one thing I've learned, mate, is to keep myself to myself. I don't need to collaborate with other people. I think that I'm working on it, but I'm definitely competitive, and I'm trying to work on it to the point where it doesn't get the better of me.
Who is your biggest competitors as of now?
Biggest competitors as of now is Phil Graham and Adam Haley.
So there's the two.
Yep.
Good.
The rest, mate, like, proud to say that we're definitely ahead of the rest. You know, like, Phil's a market leader in the UK, definitely. But I also feel now, mate, is there's a certain, like, there's a niche within a niche now as well. You know, and where we want to take the business, mate, is we want to become an MRR agency. You know, where we come in and, you know, we really solidify these MRR principles that are trademarked and no one does, and just separate ourselves, because every time you look behind you, mate, you kind of focus on what's in front of you. And I've been through it every step of my journey, man. You mentioned David earlier, the reason that he was triggered and stuff is because we used to be competition, and he probably felt that for me because I was competitive and probably sensed it. And then, you know, one thing, hats off to David, is he reached out to me and, you know, was just like, said it, and I was like, I felt it, mate. I was the same. I just didn't unfollow you. You unfollowed me, and I unfollowed you after it. So I felt it, mate, and it's been good. But somebody like David can take the high ground because he can grow up.
Respect the business.
And again, that's admirable from him. So when I've noticed other people do this, I'm like, right, you need to be that guy as well. And Phil, you know, and like I say, Phil always went on about people would bitch in the private group about copying them, and he would just be like, look, get on me your stuff. And it wasn't until recently he's been copied by another guy, and so had Mark Cole's been copied by him, and the two of them outed him. Right. And it's like, fair enough. Like, you know.
Yeah, I think there's times to bring light to charlatans.
Especially as Phil mentioned, was when it impacts your business negatively. It's time to call them out.
So.
And I think that's what's happened with you see the mentorship space you keep referring to, and it's how it's blew up. It's came to this point because of the charlatans, mate. Yeah. But again, everybody will get found out, and then it will steady the ship.
Yeah. The online PT space sort of became a thing as well.
Yeah,
it's like the biggest names that were in the space. Some of them still, like the good guys, they managed to stay through it. They get the ones that were the charlatans, like they get caught out and they sort of pivoting or in property or something.
It, mate, is the good guys, like, you know, I talked to Ben Hawksworth a lot. We'll collaborate at some point. Like, he's the really only one that I do. And it's partly probably my thing as well. I don't reach out. I just crack on. But me and him, our values align, vision aligns and stuff like that. And he's a great guy. But yeah, so I probably should answer your question.
Aye.
The events.
Aye. Just on the events part, you've obviously done a lot and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is awesome to see. But on what you said there, I think you are standing toe to toe with giants in the space who have been in the space for much longer, and the passion and drive that you've had towards it is what's carried you through. And I think that's good to, like, a wee guy for Scotland. Like, Scotland's not normally on the map. It's usually UK, England.
Yep,
it's like there's just more people, more opportunity, I guess. So it's good to see that you're kind of driving the space forward for that.
Mate.
With the event side of things, what's been your favourite?
Favourite event, mate, was, oh man, like I've always done ones in Spain, the elite event and stuff like that. Done the first one in the gym. It was pretty cool. It was just like, I remember like setting up chairs that we hired and stuff like that, and it was in my gym as well. Got the videographer there and stuff like that. But I'd probably say Hampden, mate. Hampden was the big moment where we hired a football stadium. And again, it was just in a room in Hampden, but then we got pictures at the seats.
I know, it looked cool.
So it looked cool. But again, it was just setting that standard again. It was that next level thing. It was just creating noise. Like, one thing I just love doing, as you know, mate, is marketing, but I love creating noise. I love the noise around. I know David does as well. It's a big part of what he loves doing, is just the marketing aspect, the launch. And he wants to launch again and again. And it's because it's exciting, mate. And it's the what you get back from that. And filling a room full of 100 people, we had 120 at Bad in Glasgow. So that was pretty cool. And it was a ticketed event as well. So then we weighed it up and we tested it. Is it ticketed better? Is it not better? And we found that, like, just finding the right people in DMs who have been in a world for a while, downloaded some things and just been like, look, we'd love for you to come along, as well as some plus ones of coaches that we already help. So my favourite event was probably Hampden, mate. It was the biggest crowd. It was the event, the occasion, and I remember going to speak at the start, mate, and my throat was gone. I ended up just slagging somebody in the front row as a joke, just to take the heat off me.
I did want to actually get into the whole, like, speaking on stage in front of people, because it's all right doing it in a group setting. Even the first time you do it in a group setting, you're like, oh fuck, I've got 4 people looking at me. But I can only imagine what it's like speaking in front of 150 odd people.
Yeah, it was like, when you done your first class in the gym and that, it was like that, right, where they're all looking at you. That was the thing that I found weird. Why they were staring, man?
So fuck, I've got exercises to teach.
And it's funny because I mentioned this to Cheryl about getting married, and one of the things that I'm confident in my own domain, but when I did my first event speaking to a business, when I was a PT, I was like, I'm going to go and speak to a local company about fat loss. And it was the first time I wasn't in my usual MetaFit gym class phase, and I was just standing there and I was sweating, man. And I was like, well, how do I... Not because normally you have your cues, don't you? Like, right, guys, let's get warmed up. And I didn't have that. And I'm like, oh, no.
Also, they're normally in workout attire. They're in the gym.
Yeah, you're vulnerable.
You're in a setting, in an environment where they're like, who's this guy?
That's my domain. I'm ready for these. So I did that, and then the first big, like, when it came to Hampden, there was just more people there, more expectation. And I remember, like, just standing, and the slides and that were ready, but I was kind of like just pretending I was doing something, and everybody was looking and stuff like that. And then I went to talk, and like my throat was just like, Cheryl could tell I'm nervous because it's like it's got a mad thing to it. But people
shaking that.
Not really shake, mate. It's more like, it's just I don't know what the next word is. Your brain can't find it. It's strange.
Nice.
So what I started learning to do was, like, I wouldn't slag somebody in the crowd, right? That's just a one-off. But I would, like...
Just go to Christian all the time.
Just pick on Christian. But I would always welcome people. I'd be like, thanks very much for coming up. Like, really, really appreciate it. But what often happens, mate, is when people are in the crowd, they don't realise it, but they just stare at you and they don't smile. They're just like this.
That can be so off-putting.
Very off-putting. Like, am I talking shite here?
They don't like me.
Aye.
Oh, fuck, this is boring for them.
So what I kept doing is just making sure I was making eye contact with people that I know, and, like, I've helped a lot, and I've like your ideal client. So then I would talk to them, and I would just get in the swing of things. And right up until the last event there, mate, it's cool. I get excited. I take too much coffee and I'm rattling a wee bit. But now, mate, I'm fully confident with it. I think it's like I've just kept, like, I know what I'm saying now.
Chipping away at
you know what I mean? And it's like you just keep building it up, and it's far from perfect.
More self-belief.
This was the first event there. This is the first event recently that I've actually started to focus on how can I carry myself instead of just getting the fucking words out. So now I've been focused watching Steve Jobs like talking on stage and stuff like that, and how he his pauses and how he conducts himself and stuff. So I'm now just really want to go down that, so I can actually just be a better speaker, so that can be more engaging, which will allow for the guys to listen more and do the work more.
increasing the standards,
Yeah,
as you've talked about.
Aye.
No, good. Well, look, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I think this has to be up there with the longest one. What's next for you? What's like the sort of next big milestone that you like to get towards? Obviously, the wedding has to be.
Yep.
Need to say that.
Get the wedding done. No, obviously after the wedding, it's I'm doing a bit of an experiment, mate, for September. I want to, which will be revealed very soon. I'll reveal that next Friday. Some mini experiments, see how it goes from my market.
So this will not be out for a couple of weeks. So
cool.
you want to say about it? Or, I know you don't know me.
Yeah, so the experiment I'm going to do in September, mate, is I want to take on 10 coaches, 10 business owners who are at 3K per month, maybe 2. I'll have a think. And just help them for free for 6 weeks. Get them to apply. Mm-hmm. We'll narrow it down. If we get 20, 30, 40, 50 applicants, we'll narrow it down to 10. Who fit the criteria, who we like, who we we think we can really help. Work with them for free for 6 weeks, mostly to get our money to return for them, so that they can afford a program. But really just to test out, like this example that I was saying to you here, lock me in a room and does it work, mate? Like, I'm great for creating noise. I'm great for like shiny things because I love shiny shit. I love creating trainings. I love resources, frameworks. But it's like, but when all is said and done, what do you need, man? Like, and I know we don't always work on that mentality because it would force strategies too much.
Yeah.
So, but I still want to test these frameworks out. We've revamped the service massively now, mate, to the point where it's like, seeing the first 4 weeks, they can't get away from us, mate. It's 4 calls they get back to back. It's like we're overhauling everything because it needs to happen. And this is just me learning through different things.
Trials, if somebody's if you put in that much work at the front end, the longevity of how they succeed as a coach.
Just addressing the real stuff, mate, instead of nice to haves. So we're going to do that. We're going to take on, 10 coaches, 10 business owners, hopefully a variety, gym owners, small group coaches, personal trainers, one-to-one, hybrid online coaches, and just test this stuff out, mate. And obviously the downfall of this is if there's no money, there's no skin in the game, but I think we can pick the right people, we'll make it work. And the whole point of it is, look, if we can get, 10 clients signed up off the back of it, if we get some applicants who never got qualified who we can then sell to and get them into our program. And ultimately, mate, every time I do a marketing experiment, it gets ready to get duplicated into my clients. That's all I do it for, mate. Yeah. And I think if we can get it to work, we'll maybe roll it out a couple of times a year. And the real reason we're doing it, mate, is because I'm fed up getting inquiries, getting people on sales calls, and they're sitting there in debt, mate, and they can't afford it.
Yeah.
So my belief is that if we can do this and do it well, it's not only can we do it for the people who can't,
stepping stone,
give them money, but also a case study to prove, look, I know you're in debt right now. What can we do to help you get started?
Yeah, undeniable proof.
Aye, mate. And here's the proof of what we did. And 6 weeks, foot down, you need to work your ass off. There's no secrets here. We're going to give you the resources and tools and support. Go and do it. Because if it works for these guys and they go full tilt, then we roll it out to the program as well, mate.
No, I like that. Is there ever any aspirations to join up with the PT qualification?
We did, mate. We did. Never worked out. Never held their end of the bargain. Did
you never create your own?
Nah.
You heard of a guy called Jason Phillips?
No.
I'll send you his page. He's had done his mentorship, but he built this nutrition coach because he's like, you're taught to be a nutrition coach, but you're not taught how to business. So he created the business part, and he's like, fuck, nobody's actually teaching them how to be good nutrition coaches either, like the fundamentals of that. So he created 2 of them, and he's got an interesting business model.
Yeah, sounds good, mate. I think for me, that what I looked at, what anybody should look at, from a business perspective, is, okay, who's your ideal client? And then
they don't fit there.
What are they before your ideal client?
Yeah.
Where are they in the timeline? And it's like, okay, they're doing a PT course. Okay, so we need to feed some information to them so that we're the first person to think about. So I worked with a training provider and it never materialised. And there's the kind of regional manager of the gym group reached out to try and get it Bodycore to get that connected. Yeah. And I'll do it. Like, we'll seed some resources in there. We'll seed some really good videos how to start their business up and get winning straight away, get a couple of clients, and then we can feed them into a lower tier program or accelerator. Then great. But it's, some companies, mate, are just hard to work with, man. It's like they're not at that ready stage yet to really plug in and go, let's make this streamlined. So, but it should work. Collaborations are huge, mate, as you know. So it's like, you really need to keep fighting for the right person to work with.
And if they don't, then there's a gap in the market, so you could eventually pivot like you have.
It's like, if you look at your timeline of your ideal client, we need an accountancy firm to work with as well.
Recently, yeah.
Let's face it, like they're going to need that as well. And both parties win from it, because it's like, oh, I'm looking for an accountant, you specialise in coaches. oh, my money's shit, I can't make money. It's like, well, go and see a business coach here. We recommend such and such. Same with us. So it's a win-win for people, but it's just it's a whole department on its own, mate. You need somebody in your service to do that, to spend the time.
But also, I think this is a dark thing about being a business owner, being an entrepreneur. You look at these giants and you're like, how does you can sort of forecast and envision where life could end up with you if you keep going down this rabbit hole. And I know you've got some high aspirations with the whole the property side of things, the actual true wealth. You've got the house in Spain, so I'm excited to see how it grows. Get you back on in 6 months to a year's time, see how far it's grown.
Appreciate it, mate.
So thanks for your time.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.